Hello everybody, welcome along to the latest round of the World GT Championship, sponsored by Freem, and we are here, Sebring International Raceway, for meeting 7 of a 12-week championship, and delighted you could join us here on RaceSpotTV. My name's Paul Smith, alongside me in the commentary box is, of course, Chaz Draycott, and, well, as we will see on the screen right now, we are meeting 7 of 12, so we're at the halfway point of the championship, Chaz. We've got another of our endurance races here, and it's on a classic venue for endurance racing.
Yes, indeed. Good evening, everybody. It's going to be a fantastic night of racing once again here in the World GT Championship. Last time we were here, we were really treated to an absolute barnstormer with the 3 Williams eSports drivers at the front. It's not going to be that simple for them tonight, though. There's going to be a lot more battling going on. There's a lot more drivers up there near the front of the pack that can definitely topple the charge that we saw last time round. To be honest, with a lot of the car changes and everything that we've had mid-season, Paul, I really could not pick a winner tonight. It's going to be a very, very tough one, and I think it's just about survival of the fittest and maybe a bit of clean air.
Yeah, clean air will help you around here, that's for sure. Of course, not as long a track as we were at last time out at Circuit de la Sarthe, but Sebring still a classic endurance venue. And as you say, a lot of competition out there on track. And speaking of competition, here's your championship standings. Nicole Foggy is still top of your standings, but it's still rather close at the top of the standings with only 11 points between him and Ross McFarlane. Then Matt Turnbull ahead of Matt Fletcher. Michael Avdoka then in joint 4th place with Fletcher, with Ben Palmer, Pete Harrod, Adam Watson, Chris Wood and Alex Nella rounding out that top of the pro standings. I mean, look at that. First to 9th, under 100 points between them. It still shows how quite close this championship is. But speaking of close, let's have a look at the Pro-Am standings as well, because Tom Dadswell, top of his standings ahead of Jake Blackall. Mike Horder in 3rd place, not that far behind either, with Chris Van Der Ness there loitering with intent. Ben Gregory is in 5th place, the departed Jeroen Kaiser. No, we haven't put him down, he's just not racing the championship anymore. He's in 6th place ahead of Lee Berridge in 7th. Then Lars van Rijn, Adam Hedgecock and Stuart McCaffrey round out the top 10 of your Pro-Am drivers standings. Then Am drivers, Michael Blake is in the lead of that one. He is ahead of Matt Doyle, with Brian Loyens, Paul Webster rounding out the top 4, only just 10 points ahead of Hodgson, with Archer, Nunnan, Atkins, John Roberts and Jason Rowe rounding out the top 10 of your Am drivers. That's the drivers standings. Looking at the team standings now, oof. And well, you've made the oof noise there, Charles. It's pretty close there.
That's unbelievable. Pure Sims OBP and Pure Sims Esports barely even 40 points apart. It's actually 39 points. No, it's not. It's 41. Shut up, Chaz. But either way, it's incredibly close between those guys. Then you've got Altitude Esports and RSR Esports by G Performance really close together. about 101 points. There you go, the maths is right this time. Pure Sims 3M and Boosted Jericho 5th and 6th. And then Team Mad are right behind Boosted Jericho as well. So you cannot slip up once here. Pure Sims by CSS, Paceworks Esports by Crack Coffee, and Williams Esports will all be very much in the hunt and waiting for a slip ahead of them. In the Pro-Am standings, Boosted Motorsport have a bit of an easy ride at the minute. 205 points ahead of Immortal, but they'll keep them honest all the way through. Century Sim Racing a third ahead of Boosted Support Bubble, who have actually dropped down a couple of places in the last few meetings. SimStickers Racing a fifth ahead of Boosted SimSport, with Altitude Esports Blue in 7th, Cuda eMotorsports in 8th, only just ahead of Performance Link Esports in 9th, and then Nomad Sim Racing propping up the table, unfortunately, in 10th place. But this is the Enduro Cup, Paul, which, of course, is going to be more and more important as the season goes on. We've got 4 endurance races over the season. We've done 2 of them. And this is incredible how many AM and Pro-Am drivers are mixing it with the pros near the top here.
Yeah, well, that's it. You've got the pro of Nicole Foggy leading this Enduro Cup. Second place is Michael Blake, who's an AM in this series, so it's only 1.5 points off of Nicole. It's been a really, really good addition to the championship, I think. You've got Mike Horder, Hodgson, Dadswell, McCaffrey as well, Fletcher, Berridge, Butler and Blackall rounding out the top 10. But I mean, it's wide open, is the Enduro Cup. Anyone can win that and have the opportunity of getting into a championship within the championship.
Yeah, definitely, and it's been a great addition, to be fair. It's something that we've had to keep our eye on. Obviously, it's a bit difficult sometimes to follow 2 championship standings in one go, but at the same time, you know, we get to look back on it and say who is doing well, who's not. It's really not the easiest thing to get your head around when you're in the championship, and you've just, I suppose, these drivers being these drivers, you've just got to go for it. And I suppose it gives a little bit more importance to class position, doesn't it? Because usually in this championship, your points are scored overall, so you're not given them based on where you finish in your own class. But in this case, you know, it makes that more important, and I think that's what the championship needed a little bit, just to inject that little bit more fun per class in there. But yeah, it's been a wonderful addition, really has, and I'm excited to see who wraps that up, because it still could be anybody in that top 10.
Yeah, absolutely. You saw the graphic on the bottom of the screen just a moment ago. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, to all the social media as well. We just hit 8,000 followers on Twitter, so there you go. That's a nice
GG.
Round figure to hit. I have a little bit of OCD, so that's where that comes into.
And I've got a bit of a round figure.
But I want to talk a little bit about this circuit, Sebring International Raceway. We see on these beautiful shots that Hugo provides us here. It's a mixture of track conditions out there. You've got the asphalt and you've got concrete sections, which are old runway here at this venue. Very extremely bumpy.
Yeah, it's not smooth at all. A lot of the time when airfields are laid out and created, they're not done in the same way that you have roads done, where it's all really smooth tarmac that's sort of compressed down. They just use massive blocks of concrete and essentially seal them together, and then just use a hell of a lot of paint to make all the stripes and so on. It is very, very bumpy, obviously. It's not something aircraft have to worry about, but with the smaller wheels of race cars and road cars, you know, they're more sensitive to it. Smaller suspension as well that isn't quite up to the same standard as aviation stuff. So it's definitely one to keep an eye out for tonight, are the bumps and rises around here. Obviously, the inside of the circuit, that is smoother road, but on a lot of it, you know, it is very, very bumpy. It's an old circuit in itself. It was opened in 1950, which is when the Formula One World Championship began. And since then, you know, it's provided incredible racing. It's obviously a big staple on the endurance catalogue as well. There's so many circuits around the world that are sort of, they specialise in these sorts of races just because of the nature of the circuit. They don't get altered. They're just good as they are. I did want to quickly mention as well, by the way, Mr. Archer. I mentioned a while ago, I keep calling him Angus Archer, and I had been doing it for ages, and I could not for the life of me figure out where I'd picked up Angus Archer, but I started commentating again on a series the other day, which contains the driver Angus Archer, and I suddenly had this moment on air, and I went, oh my god, there he is. So sorry, Andy, but thank you for your patience in me figuring that out, but we got there in the end.
You think pronouncing names wrong is bad enough for that, and you should hear all of my commentary work throughout the years, because I've always butchered drivers' names. But we're currently in qualifying at the moment. We've got about a minute and a half of the time remaining for that. But what's the keys to this track then? There's a lot of these drivers will have been putting in a lot of practice for the circuit anyway, because of course this coming weekend it's the iRacing 12 Hours of Sebring.
Yeah, definitely. As I said, the bumps and rises of the uneven airfield sections of the circuit are always ones to look out for. One thing I will mention tonight, I don't know if we're going to see it, but the pit wall. There's a known glitch at Sebring when you're going down the pit wall. It's a nice long straight wall, and it suddenly kinks to the right a tiny bit and opens up before turn one. There's a bit of that wall that if you touch it, just as you hit the kink, there's a polygon that sticks out. And if you hit that, you will be going to space. Honestly, we've seen it before, you and I think I hit it in a race here a few seasons ago. So you will see drivers try and just straight line it as much as possible to open up turn one. They're going to be careful with that, I'm sure. Curbs as well, especially in turns 3, 4, 5, you're going through left, then right, and you've got to get it back over to the left. There's so much weight transfer that goes on there. You want all the traction on the road all of the time, and some of the drivers here will hit one curb and it'll bounce you across into the other one, and it'll be a real nightmare. So keep an eye on people losing it there. We could see contact from that tonight as well. If people are battling side by side, someone hits a curb, bounces off it and hits the car next to them. It's going to be feisty in those middle sectors, but you've got to think, though, haven't you, Paul, really? With it being an endurance race, we've seen a lot of calm, collected driving in these endurance races, but at the same time, we've seen people treat it like a 1 hour, 45-minute sprint, haven't we?
Well, I mean, you look at last time at Le Mans, you had those that were just nicely just sticking in a line and getting the slipstream, and then you had the ones who were driving like the pants were on fire and that they had to get to the pits as quickly as possible. It was it was quite crazy, but it was entertaining to watch, if nothing else. Something to do on a Monday evening. But we are back. We're back with this championship here on a Monday evening, and we have missed it because we had the week off, week 13. We're going to touch on the balance of performance at some point in the broadcast, I'm sure we are. Everybody's favourite topic in endurance racing is balance of performance, but there you go. Things have changed. There's been the number of drivers who have changed cars as well, and fortunately one of the admins went and sent us, he says, as he now can't find that link. There we go. So, we've got a number of drivers. Oscar Coper's now going into a Mercedes, as is Paulo Munoz, Jesse Jones as well, and Shields going from the McLaren to the Mercedes. Josh Thompson switching to the Lamborghini, so he's given up on the Ferrari. Also, Luke Hobson to the Mercedes. Alex Arana switched to the McLaren. So somebody's having faith in the McLaren. And Seb Hawkins going to the Audi.
The interesting thing about that is that the 3 Williams Esports drivers we've got are in all different cars. Obviously, Josh in the Lambo, Arana in the McLaren, and then, of course, Hawkins in the Audi. So it's interesting that they've gone for that because, I mean, we've seen numerous times over different leagues, haven't we, Paul? When you do have GT cars, you get the choice of who's driving what. I mean, it hurts my OCD. You mentioned yours a moment ago as well. When teams, they're not in the same car. That really bothers me. But people suit different cars in different ways. We've seen it for a few seasons now in the World GT Championship where you could have 2 guys in one car, one in another, or all 3 of them different. It's just dependent on driver status and, what they want to get out of a car. Some people want a car that's loose and fast because they can deal with it better, whether that's down to a direct drive wheel or just what they can predict and how they judge the sim. But you also get people that would rather, like me, have a safe car, which is why I could not handle driving the Audi. But I think in a race like this especially, I mean, away from the sprint racing and the feature races that we've got, this is the time to have a safe car, isn't it? You've got 1 hour 45 to just cane it, see what you can get out of it. Obviously the Endurance Cup is on the line as well. You need safety around here.
Yeah, safety and a car that deals with the bumps really well and has got good solid setup. Turn 1 is a nightmare if you've got a loose car. Also, Sunset Bend. You can take 1,000,001 lines around Sunset Bend, and if you've got a loose car, then, well, you are going to get caught out by that. But we have reached the end of qualifying, so we're getting set for the start of this race. And to start the race, we've got to have a grid. So let's have a look at that then. Josh Thompson then is your pole position sitter ahead of Alex Arana, his Williams Esports teammate, in second place. That's familiar from last season. Yeah. Nicole Foggy and Ross McFarlane then round out row number 2 with Matthew Turnbull and Michael Evdoker on row number 3. Ben Palmer, row 4 ahead. Alongside him is Alex Neller, Jake Blackall, and do you know what? I think we've got a standing start set up here, because the pace car is on pit road. So let's rush through these then, because Blackall, Dadswell, Cooper and Fletcher, I thought we had an entire lap to talk about this. Adam Watson, Van der Ness, Max Wolf, Matt Bunn, Pete Harrod and Seb Hawkins, Chris Wood, Morgan Butler ahead of Jesse Jones, Matthew Doyle, Andy Shield and David Baker. Got a big grid here, so Walker, Lyons, Gregory, Field, Nicholson and Stevens, Gardner, Woodhouse. You've also got Hedgecock, Giudici with Whitehouse and Van Ryn, Berridge, Blake, Webster, Horder down in 40th, Nella, Andy Archer, Lewis Archer, Liam Atkins, Jason Rowe, John Roberts, Asher Sutton down there in 47th, Jason Hodgson, Kieran Chung, Chris Byram and Luke Hobson round out your starting grid. Well,
we love a rolling start, but I love a standing start. I'm even more for a standing start, to be honest, but it's
this is suddenly unexpected.
Yes.
Let's be honest.
Yeah, indeed. It's interesting to see the Lamborghini and the McLaren on the front row. Obviously, 2 cars that are now new to these drivers for this season. The wonderful Marla livery on that car for Josh, but we're about to get underway by the look of it, Paul.
And away we go. Green flag in the air, Barney waving it. As away we go towards turn number 1, and already Josh Thompson's lost a position down to, behind his teammate Alex Arana. We're going into turn number 1, and the question is everybody going to get around here? So far, so good. Oh no, we've got cars around in the background. It's one of the Paceworks Esports cars, and I believe that is, Van der Ness is involved in all of this. There's also Adam Watson. Oh, Adam, you would have been hoping for a good start to this one. We've got Simon, Morgan Butler is off as well further round the lap. In fact, there he is on screen. We've got others off as well. Oh, it's carnage towards the back of the field, but right now, everybody's still going. Everything's still clear. And out of the hairpin for the first time, we are staying green.
Yeah, indeed. I think one of the other cars off there was Adam Hedgecock in the boosted Ferrari, but he's managed to get back together and crack on. But yeah, at the front, Alex Arana in the McLaren. He had a great start. It looked like Josh had an initial launch off the line, but I mean, standing starts, I don't think it's something these boys practice that often. You don't really see it. So Josh seemed to just bog down. I know that there's a little hint that you can use the pit lane speed limiter to get the car moving quickly off the line and then just disengage it as you get to second gear. But it seemed like Josh really bogged down now, and he's going to have to act as rear gunner to Alex Arana. That's if he can stay with him, because that McLaren, I mean, it's an outdated car by now, that's for sure, but my, Alex Arana is making it look good.
Certainly is, as they head on down the Ullman Straight for the first time. In towards Sunset Bend, Josh Thompson we're looking back from. He is in that second place then. As we've got car off further down, that's Ross Nicholson who's making a return to the track at Le Mans. That's very easy to do down at Le Mans Corner, I can tell you that. I've done that many a time. So he's back up and running. But end of the first lap here then in this race. Alex Arana, your race leader ahead of Josh Thompson, Nicole Foggy, Ross McFarlane, Matt Turnbull, Ben Palmer, Alex Neller, Matt Fletcher, Michael Evdoker and Jake Blackall, who's the top Pro-Am driver here today. Top Am driver currently speaking is Matthew Doyle in 21st place. That's the end of the first lap. We've still got an hour and 42 and a half to go here, so plenty of time for action to happen in this race. And Alex Arana still there at the front of your field. Got a little bit of a gap over his Williams teammate Josh Thompson. But then we've got the 2 Audis here of Foggy and McFarlane, with Matthew Turnbull not that far behind in the Lamborghini.
I can hear a bit of argy-bargy further back. It looks to me like Liam Atkins and Simon Neller have dropped down. I think at the end of the last lap as well, Tom Stevens and Jonathan Walker had a bit of an issue. Those two have really dropped down. Liam is still going down the order. He's 46 now. There he is.
That's a big bend.
Yeah, we know how easy it is to make contact coming out of there. Oh, Andy Shields going down the order as well now. It's like nobody wants to do well in this race. But we've got numerous cars off and about. There's Andy getting back on in the Mercedes now. Oh, rejoining just before the apex. But
in the Vanta black car, it looks like, doesn't that? It's a matte black car in the Mercedes. So
it's
Andy...
like a testing livery, isn't it?
Absolutely.
I like it.
But yeah, he's come back on down in 30th place. Don't forget live timing and scoring is available on RaceSpotTV/timing2. The link is in the YouTube chat, so make sure you keep up to date with everything going on in this race. And what's going on right now is battling, the squabbling going on. People are trying to find themselves their position in the early going here, because once you get into a rhythm, it makes it a little bit more difficult to make those moves. Whilst everything is compact, as here comes Evdoka switching sides to the inside of turn 1, and he goes through then on Mark Fletcher. So getting a position for Evdoka. Mark Fletcher in that altitude esports car losing a position down to 9th place.
Yeah, nice racecraft there from Michael Evdoka. Had one switchback too many for Mark Fletcher's liking, and then got it done. It's good to see some Mercedes out there, in fairness. A bit of 6.3 litre V8 rumble amongst all of the wonderful V10s that we have. So many Lamborghinis and Audis in this championship. It's actually, other than, I mean, we've got the McLaren at the front, 2 Mercedes inside the top 15, and then only, other than the McLaren and the 2 Mercedes, there's only 1 car inside the top 20 that isn't a Lamborghini or an Audi, and that's Chris Wood's BMW. Max Wolf, I've got as a top am at the moment.
Oh, yeah.
He's 17th. He's having a right corker in the Evo SR Lambo. That's a car that really suits that livery as well, to be fair. Black and green just always does look good on a Lamborghini. But he's doing a smashing job at the minute, and maybe the hashtag Wolf Pro could be trending soon. But either way, strong performance early on. And this is the thing, you know, we've seen people qualify well for these endurance races, but over the course of it, you know, they'll drop down gradually, bit by bit. You never know whether that'll happen or not, but the better drivers stay quite high up. I just wanted to touch on as well, in the opening couple of laps, we've got some very big movers in the field. Jason Rose gained 14 spots, so's Kieran Chung. Chris Byram, Michael Blake, Lee Berridge and Mike Horder have all gained 12 places, and as expected, Ash Sutton, who started further down, he's now up to 23rd after gaining 24 spots. So he's got more cars behind him than he has ahead of him, and that he's overtaken.
Yeah, he's doing a good job out there. Oh, we've got an incident further down, and Andy Shield is one of those involved. Oh, dearie me, people having to take avoiding action. Andy Shields parking it. Chris Byram came up. Oh, he's not happy about that, is Chris, by the way, giving it a wiggle of the wheel here. And he's dropping down. I think Andy Shields had to park it. He's got damage. Ash Sutton is onto pit road. So something's happened to Ash out of all of this as well. So hopefully we can give you a little bit of a replay here. And look at this. Chris Byram. Oh, where do you go? Where do you go? Oh, dearie me.
Well, that's a scary thing to have happen. And yeah, like you say, there's flashing the lights in a way to either say hello or get out of the way, but then there's the wheel wiggle to say, make your mind up, mate. Where are you going? You know, where are you going? Make your mind up. So we've had that moment. Either way, he still continues, though. It was a bit of a scary moment, that's for sure. As he went around him, a little bit of a blink in and out there for Byram. He's actually gained 15 places so far in this race, so he's done a mega job. At the minute, nearly came to a halt, though, did that charge there. Luckily for him, that's not the case, and he continues. His teammate, actually, a couple of places back, Lewis Archer, is on the back of Daniele Giudici. Never mind that, he's down the inside of Daniele into the left-hander, turn 2. Doesn't quite work for him that time, but this is the thing, especially in this section of the circuit, Paul. If you make a move and it doesn't work early on, you suddenly develop a train of cars behind you, don't you?
Yeah, that's it. It's, oh my goodness, we've got another incident. And Chris van der Ness, I believe, or is he?
Yeah, I've just seen him go dropping down, although Sean Gardner I've got dropping down all of a sudden.
We'll pick this up. Apparently we were still in the replay, by the way. I didn't really realise that until then. Oh, there's a little bit of a wiggle. We'll get to see it in a second. So this is Gardner.
Oh no, that's retaliation from Van der Ness.
Well, what Van der Ness is, yeah, he's gone to the oh dear. Oh, that's a couple of contacts there. And well, there you go.
Sorry, that wasn't Van der Ness, was it, that actually made the move there? I think that might have been, was it Jason Hodgson? Am I thinking of the right guy? It might have been, it was one of the Lamborghinis though, wasn't it? I think it might have been the Altitude Esports machine. But you know, he obviously wasn't happy about the contact. I'm not quite sure whose fault the initial contact was, but it was a retaliation dive, wasn't it? Just chucked it back up the inside and sort of said, well, if you're going to hit my car, watch this. And then, unfortunately, he made it work, and it happened in the way he wanted to. But, you know, it's just a bit of retaliation. You know, you don't really want to see it. But something you do want to see is a battle for the lead pole, and it looks like we've got one here because the top couple of drivers are very, very close together. Arana has not been able to break away.
No, he's not, and Thompson sat right there behind him on his bumper, trying to gain on Alex, his teammate. These two won't battle too hard because they'll realise that they don't want to slow each other down. The problem is Nicole Foggett, Ross McFarlane and Matt Turnbull at the back of that queue of 5 cars, they're all there loitering. They want to force the error. They want to get those guys out the way at the front. It's not been the best of seasons for Williams Esports compared to last season, where they utterly dominated the championship, not just in the team standings but also in the driver standings as well. But right now it's been a struggle. It's nice to see Alex Arana back because he has had a lot of PC issues to deal with, so he's having fun back out there. There's people who are having fun out there. Ben Palmer's coming under increased pressure from Mark Fletcher, who's made his way back past Michael Evdoka, and in fact Evdoka runs extremely wide through Sunset Bend, and there's Oscar Koper now coming alongside as well in that Mercedes. Look at the size and the length of that Mercedes there compared to the Audi. Down into turn 1, can they keep each other nice and safe? Yes, they can.
It is a big chunk, is that Mercedes, with a big lump up front. These cars are very different to one another, but a real highlight of how close GT3 racing can be between two very different cars. The rear-engined or mid-engined Audi 5.2-litre V10 against the very long-nosed 6.3-litre V8 of the Mercedes AMG. Very successful GT3 car, both of them have. They've been incredible, not just in the real world, but in sim racing as well. And we go on board now with Tom Dadswell, who's looking down the inside of Evdoka. Koper, well, to be fair, Evdoka can't Koper, can he, at the moment? He's just not able to break the deadlock, although you would have thought Koper had that there, but he lost it a bit on the exit. So Evdoka coming back at him. They're very close together. I'm wondering if it's a case of when, not if, they make contact here, but this is good fighting either way, but maybe a bit unnecessary.
Jesse Jones is hanging around as well, wanting to take advantage of this, battling with Dadswell. Dadswell's done very well so far this season in the Endurance Cup as well, so he is up there fighting it out. We have lost 2 drivers. Ash Sutton and Andy Shield are both out of the race. They are out completely, so yeah, that's interesting to see what happened there, whether there was any contact for Sutton. We saw what happened to Shield. Oh, Chris Byram. Oh, that car's facing the wrong way. And that's just out the pits, is that, as well?
Yeah. That's odd.
Actually, no, it's not just out the pits. He's been going for 2 laps, so just having an issue down at turn 1, which is easy to do.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if we had a quid for every time someone had gone off at turn 1. Oh, Evdoka's dropping down. Sunset Bend, and if you had a quid for every car that had an issue at Sunset Bend as well, you'd have a lot of money, to be fair. But Evdoka not having the easiest of nights. I'm wondering whether something's going wrong behind the scenes here for him. Here's David Baker down the inside of Ben Gregory. These two have been racing on iRacing for as long as I can remember. 2 of the very first names that I ever saw racing. And David now moving further and further up the order. He's gained 6 places. Up to 18th, so just quite an ironic number, really, because his usual finishing position is 6. He's obviously had to take 66 this season due to another driver driving car 6, and annoyingly, I can't actually see that driver out on track at the moment.
Carl Moore.
It was Carl Moore, yes. Nicely remembered. But Yeah, Dave has gained his customary 6 positions. He'll want more than that, obviously, but this is a very mismatched train at the moment. You've got a few Lamborghinis, you've got a BMW in there, you've got an Audi at the end of it, and an Audi at the front of it, which is Pete Harrod. So, well, actually, no, sorry, Pete's even got Matt Bunn ahead of him, so another Audi in this scrap.
How on earth is Matt Bunn in that position?
You know what? I say this about Bunny quite a bit. When he's not spinning, obviously getting his nickname Matt Spun, and he's not sort of retiring early on in a race, he's got some incredible paces, Bunny. You know, he's a quick driver. He's just an inconsistently quick one. So when he gets out there and he puts a performance in, he really does shine, bless him. But yeah, at the moment, he's doing a cracking job here tonight, and he needs it because he's had a lot of DNFs so far this season. He needs a big haul of points.
Yeah, he does. He certainly does, especially in that Pro-Am Championship. There's only, Jake Blackall and Tom Dadswell ahead of him in the Pro-Am standings. So at the moment, Bunn, 3rd place in Am. He'll do well in the Enduro Cup if he can stay there as well. So he's looking at some good points here. You can see the different lines that people take through there. I think Kev Durka went a bit wide through there, looking to get the exit out the corner. You've got to be careful because of the grass, and that's exactly what's happened. Ben Gregory has been around. There's a car upside down.
Doyle, I think.
Yeah, it's Matthew Doyle.
Quite comically sliding down the straight on its roof like a Beyblade, but I think more cars have just gone into it, you know, in the background. I'll have a quick look in the sim, but no, it seems like everybody's got through okay, so no need for a safety car or anything, but that just looked like I got the notification that they'd both gone off track. I'm wondering whether...
So Baker went into the wall. Oh, dear.
Oh, and then Doyle gets hit by the car behind. And then... well, there's not really much of a track blockage. You've just got to try and get around it from there, so they're all right. It looked a lot worse than it was from far away, didn't it?
To be fair to Ben Gregory, he kept out the way, so that was the main thing.
Yeah. He didn't make the car unpredictable and move back across the track. He just stayed where he was, held the brakes, waited for a gap in the traffic. And that's the thing, you know, it's hard to think to yourself and do that when you're in the incident because you get frustrated that you've had said incident. You want to get back in the race as soon as possible. But fair play to Gregory there. He was really the innocent bystander, and the same goes for Doyle. You know, he got caught up in the second bit of contact and then absolutely nailed down the straight. But look at this battle for the lead again, Paul. This is absolutely awesome stuff.
Yeah, this is fantastic. So this is Arana, Thompson, Foggy and McFarlane all at the front of your field. Top 4 split by not much at all. You'll see it in the bottom right-hand corner there. Less than a second covering the 3 of them, so that means that those 4, well, it's Arana who's cutting the hull in the air there. A little bit of a wiggle from Arana as well on the exit of Sunset Bend. Across the line for another lap here. Lap 9 of the race. They've just started. Does Thompson make a look? No, he doesn't. He decides to hold his position for the time being. In fact, runs wide through turn 1. That's allowed Foggy through. Ross McFarlane's not quite close enough to take advantage, but that's it. One little mistake, especially through turn 1 there, which is such a medium to high speed corner, and then before you know it, well, you're going down positions. Fortunately, only 1 place lost for Josh, but that means that Arana now has got somebody who isn't friendly behind him.
Yeah, indeed. And, I mean, it's Nickel Foggy, championship leader as well. You know, double World GT champion already. He's looking for a hat-trick of champions, or championships, I should say. And tonight will very much help him head towards that. And he's leading the Enduro Cup as well. So it just shows that it's Nickel's bag at the minute, really. He's got the endurance races down. You gain a lot of points in the overall championship and the Enduro Cup, of course. That's what it's focused on. But more importantly, Josh is in a sandwich now of Pure Sims esports drivers. He's got Ross McFarlane, who hasn't sort of set the world alight so far in this race, but, you know, Ross has always been quick in this championship, and he continues to be. So I'm intrigued to see what he can do here, but whether Foggy gets away from Thompson and goes after Arana is another story, really, because these guys will have to try and follow him along, and I think Foggy's got the pace to do it, but the thing is, again, that you don't want to push too hard around this lap. It's a bit of a predicament, but you can tell that Arana knows it, though. Look, he's moving around, and he's trying to break the slipstream.
Certainly is, and trying his best to do anything he can to try and drop those cars behind, throw it into Sunset Bend. It's quite a wide open entry that then it tightens up mid-corner before opening up on corner exit. And we saw just a lap or two ago exactly what happens if you make a mistake on the exit of the corner. Arana, 0.7 of a second ahead of Foggy right now. I have a funny feeling that here, because he's got that Pure Sims driver behind him, he's just trying to get the foot down and try and make a breakaway.
Yeah, that's it now. He sort of could let off the gas a little bit, essentially, with having Josh behind, you know, not push the tyres too much, not overwork the car. And now he's got Foggy there. He knows there's going to be absolutely no mercy. There's nobody to hold him back, so he needs to just absolutely floor it and put the times in. Foggy's going to be trying to do the same, but he needs to be careful with having Josh a little bit closer to him than he is to Arana. We've, of course, got Matt Turnbull just on the back of this. Then Alex Neller is a little bit further back as well. So it's, it's about 5 seconds, actually, from Turnbull to Neller at the minute. But this is a very interesting battle up front because we've seen it happen before in these Enduros, haven't we, Paul, where it stays a little bit... I don't want to say the word stale. That's maybe a bit of a negative word for it, but you know what I mean. There's not many position changes. People just hold their line, hold their station, and then the pit stops come in, and then they have a sudden dart around. Everybody changes places. They settle back down again, and after that second stop, it all erupts, doesn't it?
Well, that's it. You know, you've got those different pit stop strategies. Of course, you can do it one of 3 ways, really. You can have your first pit stop be your long pit stop and then do a splash and dash towards the end of the race. You can do your splash and dash early, get out of the way, but then have a longer second pit stop. Or you can maybe even it out and try and do sort of equal pit stops in the first and second pit stops to try and even your tyre wear out on those cars. Me personally, I would go for the quicker pit stop at the end of the race because your tyres are quite worn by the end of the race, so you want to just not put as much force through them. Of course, iRacing, it does simulate the effect of the weight of the car, the weight of the fuel, so that will have a direct effect on the tyre wear of these drivers. Evdoka and Bunn now battling. Evdoka's really struggling for pace out there, and it appears he's just falling backwards here.
Yeah, he's not quite able to break away from that. I'm wondering whether he's just had one bad lap, really. Although, to be fair, Nickel Foggy just did the fastest lap of the race on that lap. So it just shows that, you know, the pace is there. It's just that at the moment, Evdoka can't really unlock it, really. I mean, Bunny's still right behind, Harrod right in there as well. So they've got strength in numbers, as they usually do in this championship, let's face it. But behind and waiting, Max Wolf and Chris Wood, they both want to make progress. But again, it could be the point now that they just think, we'll wait here until after the first stops, see where we come out and see what goes on from there. But this is another battle further down. I was waiting to see this car. Seb Hawkins in the absolutely wonderfully bright green Audi. This is very RGB right now. We've got the red Jesse Jones RSR Esports by G2 Performance rolls off the Tong car in front of him. But Seb changing to the Audi just to try and see what he can get out of it. And I mean, he's a fan of green, obviously, with the livery, but obviously it's down to sponsorship as well. Razor all over that car. But it's just great to see these Mercedes back, and we get that big thunderous rumble of a V8 again in the series. Yeah,
absolutely. We certainly do. It's G Performance, by the way, not G2 Performance. So thought I'd point that out. But yeah, it's these now. You're getting into these little battle packs in this race now. This is what happens with these endurance races. You get those drivers at the front in the packs. You'll get the odd one that's sat on their own. I'm looking at you, Alex Neller, who's kind of sat on his own there. And then you get little gaggles of cars, little 2, 3, 4 car packs out there on track. And yeah, it all settles down in a bit as Pete Harrod's making some moves now. He's looking towards Matt Bunn. He's got Max Wolf in there as well. And Wolf is trying to gain a position there. So battling for 15th, 16th, 17th. Evdoka's pulled away from this lot because I think they're busy scrapping away.
Yeah, it makes all the difference, doesn't it, really, from one lap to the next. And the thing is, if you've got to wait for an opportunity but make sure it's the right one, because if you do go for something that isn't quite the right time, if you're a little bit impatient, like we've said, if you're in the middle of a train like this, you are going to lose a position rather than gain one. Chris Wood's not got too much to lose in this train at the moment. He's got 7 seconds back to Simon Field behind. Either way, though, he doesn't want to drop off this train because, as we've seen, the slipstream is very important down that back straight there, down the Ullman Straight towards Sunset Bend. And you want to make sure, just like we saw at Circuit de la Sarthe, you want to stay in that battle pack if you are in one. Don't take too many risks this early into the race. Still an hour and 20 minutes and some change left to go.
David Baker's been down onto pit road to get a pit stop done and to get a repair, I would imagine, on that car after that incident with Ben Gregory earlier on. So that'll be back up and running. 17.2 seconds. So I think he will have taken a shorter pit stop there, and he'll be going for a long pit stop at the end of the race here. But as you mentioned, an hour and 21 minutes remaining. Still Alex Aran and Nicole Foggy, Josh Thompson, your top 3. Pro-Am, you've got Jake Blackhall in 9th place. He's the leading Pro-Am driver. He has got Tom Dadswell in 11th, who's 2nd place in Pro-Am, with then Matt Bunn, the 3rd place Pro-Am driver. Really not that many Pro-Ams in the top 20. Only Simon Field and Mike Horder down in 19th and 20th places. So really not being the strongest today. Oh my goodness!
Oh, that's Fletcher. Oh, don't do that back onto the road, Mark. That was a naughty bit of driving, but he's just got to be patient now and wait. He's on triple, so there's no excuse for him not to see what's coming. But it's such a painstaking moment. Is he going to get back on? Yeah, he's got a big gap in the traffic there. So it's just one of those moments, isn't it, Paul? You mentioned how difficult turn 1 can be. And even if the car breaks away late in the corner, or you can clip the grass on the exit, it'll just fly around the other way, unfortunately. I'll have a quick look back and see what happened, because I'm pretty confident that Mark just
I think he might have just
the grass on the exit.
Clip the dirt or something like that. Or even just the way that it rode some of the bumps towards the end of the corner, and it's just maybe gotten a little bit of a tank slapper there. And
it was the dirt.
It was the dirt, yeah.
Yeah, just literally an 1/8 of a tyre width on the dirt. It had a bump after it as well, so it was a combination of both, really. And it just went the tiniest bit left, and you could see that Mark thought, oh no, it's getting away, and he chucked it right. And then obviously had a bit of a reversing session down the grass, unfortunately.
I could see that he was trying to J-turn, which, with all that traffic coming through, is not the best of ideas.
No.
I recall an incident in the touring car series that I used to race in at Phillip Island, where somebody attempted to do a J-turn right into the middle of a battle pack. So that was... yeah, that was silly. Oh, it was Jesse Jones just running a little bit wide on the curb there, getting the grass slightly. It's not too bad out of Le Mans corner, but heading down the back straight will have affected by about 1 kilometre or 2 of speed. Well, that Mercedes, it's always had some good legs on it, and it seems to be going well. Look, Hobson is on pit road, one of your amateurs, so he's had an issue out there on track. He's had to take a tour.
Yeah, an interesting one for Luke. Not sure whether he's done that on his own or had any contact with somebody else, but as we saw there, we get the nice little indication, don't we, when they come flying down from the top of the standings, just to say, look, someone's in the pits. But yeah, real shame that for Luke. He's not had the easiest of seasons. I mean, he started at the very back of the grid here tonight in 51st place, and he's currently classified 46th with a number of cars behind him in the race, only 2 of them still running. We've lost 4 cars total, including Luke, if he doesn't get going again. That's Doyle, Sutton and Shield, the other 3. But still, we have this fight going on here. And this is Matt Bunn trying to hold off Max Wolf. It's an incredibly aggressive driver name. It's definitely a racing driver name, is Max Wolf, especially in a car that looks as aggressive as a Lamborghini. I wouldn't want to be Matt Bunn right now with him right behind me.
Absolutely. New to the championship, partway through the season, is Max Wolf, the AM driver. And he's your top amateur driver in the field here today, with Michael Blake in 2nd place in AM. Not that far behind him is Paul Webster, of course, last round changed teams to Team Mad, so Webster and Blake compatriots out the same outfit, although saying that, Ross Nicholson's just got ahead of Michael Blake down there at Tower Corner. So, no, that's not Tower, that's turn 10. This is Tower Corner right here, turn 13, before you head on down the back section through Bishop into the S's and then Lamore, and then the Ullman Straight, and then you're at the end of the lap. So, swap of positions. You can see the damage on Ross Nicholson's car from instant earlier on, and he's got a slight bit of damage. He'll get that repaired in the pit stop.
I do want to point out that the wonderful after tower turn, one of the most difficult corners on the circuit, straight is called Flying Fortress Straight, named after the very famous B-17 Flying Fortress that was stationed here at Sebring between 1941 and 1946. Incredible aircraft, a US Air Force bomber, and that's what they used to fly out of here. And I'd tell you what, I would have loved to have seen how the airfield was used before it was turned into a racetrack, but either way, it's a fantastic name and a very a nice homage to obviously the servicemen and women that used to use this facility. But this is Josh Thompson trying to use the facility that is the 5.2 litre V10 behind him in his Lamborghini right now, because Nickel Foggy has caught up to the back of Arana, but Josh has also caught Foggy. So this is sort of, the accordion effect is very slow in this battle, Paul, but it's definitely there.
Certainly is. He's doing a lot of lifting and coasting, is Josh, so he's happy in this position right now, getting a ton of fuel saving done in that Lamborghini. And well, he's just, they're in this front four. It'll be a question of, can anybody save one, maybe 2 laps of fuel at this pack? Alex Arana won't be one of those, because he's heading that pack and he's cutting the hole in the air. Of course, if you've never seen any motorsport before, then first of all, welcome along to this series, and secondly, the car in front, the car at the front of the field is forcing all the air around his car. He's creating a big hole in the air that the drivers behind are driving into. That means that their cars don't have to work quite as hard. That means that they save themselves a little bit of fuel on the field there. So yeah, doing a good job are the front three. They're finding themselves in some good positions, and a good train of cars there. And looking further down, I mean, Michael Evdoka's caught up to Seb Hawkins here, and in fact making a move down the start and finish straight.
Yep, down the inside he goes. Make sure there's plenty of room for that kink in the wall that I mentioned earlier. And through he goes. Nice stuff from Michael Evdoka. Quite a uniform overtake. But Seb's coming back at him. He's saying, not on your life, sunshine. Doesn't quite get the retaliation done there. And Evdoka tries to move forward some more. He's done a great job, actually, to break away from that battle behind. Some 5 seconds between them. So he really has opened that gap back up. And he's done that quite quickly as well. It only feels like a minute or so ago that he was with the rest of those guys. So awesome stuff. Got to remember that they were battling a little bit. Maybe some defensive driving from Pete Harrod and Matt Bunn. You could just see them in the background of the shot there. And here they are. And there is the defensive driving from Matt Bunn. Max Wolf just behind. Oh, he has to get out of it. Matt's late on the brakes. Pete has to get out of the way. They're still side by side. This is going to play into the hands of them. It's another Pure Sims on Pure Sims car, isn't it, Paul? They have fantastic battles out on track because, you know, they are all different teams. They may be in the same stable, but Matt Bunn's 3M car is in a very different team to Pete Harrod's Pure Sims esports machine. So they're free to fight each other. And it's definitely interesting to watch because you just wonder what talks do they have afterwards. You know, who says what? It's great. It really adds a bit of drama to the championship for me. I love it.
I'm not sure that Ash Sutton will be liking seeing them trade paint and get involved in incidents. I think he'd rather see them just all get to the finish with a spotless car. But that's what we're seeing out there. Chris Wood on the back of Max Wolf, who must have felt that he had the position gained after Bunn had to throw it down the inside of his compatriot and Pete Harrod. But there, look at this now. Wolf, he's got the slipstream. You can see him in front. Is he going to make a move down into Sunset Bend? And Matt Bunn, feeling the need to go defensive once again, that will compromise him through Sunset Bend if he's not careful. And if he's not careful, Max Wolf could potentially lose the position to Chris Wood here. He'll get the better run out of the corner, though, because he's on the power earlier.
Yeah, that's the thing. You do get a bit of an overlap there. A lot of the time, if you do get people going down the inside and making a move on the exit, you can try and get them back again. But seemingly, a bit of a deadlock between them at the moment. Bunny's still in front. But Max Wolf, he's looking very, very feisty at the minute. It's awesome to watch.
And of course,
Really
catching
enjoyable.
up to them in the background there, Matt Fletcher. Of course, the recovering Matt Fletcher catching up to them as well.
And I believe Adam Watson is in there as well. Oh no, Adam's further back. Sorry, I think that was John Roberts who they were lapping, who was in that fight. It is John Roberts and the Lamborghini. Bunny is driving very defensively here. He's doing a good job of it at the moment, though, you have to say. You know, he's still getting involved in the fight. He's not having the easiest of times with this, and he's making it difficult for Max Wolf as well. Chris Wood's probably sitting there thinking, oh, my fuel gauge looks nice right now. You know, I'm just watching this fantastic battle, get to see some racing while driving the BMW around and save some fuel at the same time, although he's actually ended up alongside Wolf here. Fletcher's going to get a piece of this as well. That was very sketchy stuff. Oh, that was just a bit... I know Mark was eager to get past Chris Wood. That just seemed... Oh, to be fair, he's letting him go, which is nice of Mark, but it was a bit clumsy, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was very clumsy. Adam Watson now coming alongside. He's wanting a piece of this. He's got damaged car from lap 1, turn 1, has Adam. He's trying to make a comeback of it as well. So these two now battling it out there on the field. And, well, Watson's made it past Fletcher in the end. I think Fletcher knows that was a big no-no. He came in too hot. And, well... Around goes Max Wolf after a good display from Wolf, now down to 17th. Still the leading AM driver, as here comes Fletcher on Watson, who's, of course, with that damaged car, will be struggling for top speed. The second place AM driver is now Paul Webster, because Michael Blake has fallen down to 3rd in AM. Look at that Watson trying to get every little bit of speed and... I was about to say fuel saving, but he's going down the inside. He wants action, and he wants to move forward.
Yeah, indeed. He wants to push, push, push. It's great to watch. And Adam, unfortunately, I think is going to be suffering with the very visual damage to the right corner of that Audi. It won't be doing any good. I think that's the NASCAR spec, isn't it? Put all the downforce on the left-hand side. But Mark Fletcher, he's going to just try and open that gap up now. He's basically been on a recovery drive for the last sort of 20 minutes, hasn't he, really? Yeah,
he certainly has. He's been giving it everything, and that wasn't the car that I want to go on board with. That's the car I wanted to go on board with, because I wanted to say that that should not be at that angle.
No, definitely not.
But, yeah, so that's Watson then. I think he'd be smarter sitting behind Fletcher if he can and try and get Fletcher to drag him along with him to move forward in the field rather than fighting with him. That could be more advantageous for him. And further down in your pecking order, Lewis Archer, the AM driver, is ahead of Brian Loyens, who's been on pit road already 9 laps ago. And he is battling out with Archer. Although I say that, the Cuda Esports driver not exactly putting up the strongest defence there.
No, I think we're going to see a bit of that over this stage of the race. You know, a bit of overlap from some of the drivers. They know who they should be fighting against and who they can maybe just let through. Sometimes it's not worth battling with every single car you come across here or every single car that catches up with you. You've just got to assess it as it comes to you and see what you can do about each individual car. The highest placed car that's actually pitted so far in this race is actually Morgan Butler, interestingly, in 28th. But don't forget, he pitted on lap 1. So too did Mark Woodhouse. So they both had incidents early in the race, and they'll be a little bit out of sync later on. But this is Alex Arana, your race leader. Nickel Foggy, Josh Thompson and Ross McFarlane still very much in the picture. But behind them is Matt Turnbull, now only 1 second off this, so 2 seconds covering the top 5. Turnbull having a little blink in and out there.
He's been having issues for the last sort of 10 minutes or so as Turnbull. So that's why we're not sort of going to his on board. But he is doing a good job. He's keeping with the lead pack, which is something that he should be delighted with so far. The 3M driver, Arana. at the head of your field. He's been at the head of the field all race long, all 19 laps of this race. But look behind him, Nicole Foggy is just sitting there, just happy to sit there. And we saw, of course, at Le Mans how Foggy played this to an absolute T, this tactic, and just sitting behind and then really gunning it in the second half of the race.
Yeah, that's just what Nicol does. He's such a level-headed driver. He's really good at assessing situations and just keeping calm. It's what he did in the 2 championships that he won. You know, he won, I believe, Season 2 and Season 4 of the World GT Championship. I think it might have even been Season 3, but either way, he's won 2. And he's just good at keeping his head composed and just focusing on what is important in these races and not getting overly flustered at daft things. I mean, I'll always look back at the incredible battle he had with Ash Sutton at Road America when the Mercedes was quite new to iRacing in comparison to the Ferrari. And obviously the Ferrari just didn't have the legs. Oh, just in front of this, that's Jason Rowe.
Yeah, well, the leaders were catching up to him, and I think Jason got caught out by that and decided, I want to visit this bit of track here, this bit of grass. And back up and running. Down in 41st is Jason. He has had his pit stop, his first pit stop, so not all... That's what happens here. When you have that first pit stop, if there's a lot of teams, a lot of drivers that still haven't made their stop, like the front 27, then you are going to end up in traffic here. That's one of the things. I mean, to put it into perspective, of course, and I mentioned this last time out at Le Mans, this track is the same length as the Mulsanne Straight. This entire track.
Yes, indeed. It's an incredible statistic, and I mean, it just shows you again how long that Mulsanne Straight is. It's just pretty bonkers, isn't it, to be fair? But either way, it's a great circuit as well. I thoroughly enjoy driving around Sebring. I've done many races here, and it's one of those where it's very difficult to string a lap together, but when you do it, it's so rewarding. It's unbelievably rewarding because the curbs are so close to you at every single opportunity. And I mean, look at that Arana there. Both wheels on the white line all the way down the straight. And he just tips it in at the right moment. Sunset Bend, it's very, very bumpy. You see cars lose it there. Tucks it in, and he's actually going into the pits. Gets rid of the cone just for safe measure. And in he goes. Now, that's intriguing because, obviously, he was at the front of the train for the whole race. He's not had chance to save fuel. This will be intriguing to see where he comes out in comparison because he might have to, although I suppose here they might just brim it. It'll be the second pit stop, I suppose, where the fuel difference will be more apparent.
Yeah, that's where you'll really notice that difference. Unless you're making that short stop now, as he hits his box, waits for it. You won't see him pop up onto the jacks. He'll be staying firmly planted on the ground, have his pit stop, and then get back up and away. Just waiting patiently. You're going to be looking about 25, maybe 30 seconds. Oh, 20 seconds. So it's not the longest of pit stops there, but also not a short pit stop. So I think he's going for that sort of even pit stop cycle by the looks of things.
Yeah. It's just to try and spread it out a little bit more, maybe save a bit of time in the pits. And that's what it's all about a lot of the time. You know, you just need to minimise the time in the pits. That's what endurance racing is all about, isn't it? You know, you push the car as much as you want out on track as long as you're in the pits less than everybody else. Because when you're stationary, you're not out on track doing umpteen miles an hour. But Nicol Foggy gets a chance to lead from the front. And he's got a bit of positive fortune in his favour here because he's obviously got cars in front of him, giving him the tiniest bit of slipstream in the form of those back markers. So even when he's leading from the front, he's getting a chance to save maybe a little bit of fuel as he goes down the straight. I believe that's Chris Byram just in front. And look, he's not actually getting out of it that much, is Chris. So, you know, Nicol is using that to his advantage. And it's incredible, isn't it, Paul, how much just a moment like that can make such a difference.
Oh, Byram
especially
just
if he does that.
trying to keep out the way of these leaders, and generally does so. And here comes McFarlane, Nicol Foggy, should I say, and McFarlane. Now, was that a case of seeing that there's a lot of traffic there and try to get yourself some clean air? But around this track, there's not a lot of clean air. I've just had a look at my my car tracker here, and there's not really that much space out there.
No, there isn't. And I'm intrigued to see how that works out for them. But Yeah, it's a good call, and it's maybe come at the perfect time for them because, you know, they're running out of fuel. They've got Nella in there as well. That's been Palmer just stopping in his box. Interesting attention to detail on the liveries that they've got the little boards above the cars with their branding on. I love that. But it's an interesting one because usually when you get traffic, it's never favourable to anybody. But I think these guys are really going to benefit from it. Nickel Foggy gets moving again. So does McFarlane in nice formation. And there, coming down the straight...
It's not Alex Arana, he's already around. He was so he was about 8 seconds longer in the pit box there was Foggy. So I would imagine that he's pretty much brimmed the tank there as Nicole.
Yeah.
Whereas I just get that feeling that Nella's just going for that little bit of a shorter stop, try to get some clean air. And right now, Arana, he has got a little bit of clean air in front of him. So he's got about 7 seconds to the next car in front. He could just concentrate on getting his head down and really pushing on.
It's a good-looking car as well, isn't it, that McLaren? I'm sorry, I'm just having a moment. Obviously, there was only one in the championship before. That was Andy Shield, but now he's changed to the Mercedes. Alex has taken over the resident McLaren driver role in this championship, and he's certainly doing it some justice at the minute. The livery might not be, but either way, his driving is. The number 38 of Tom Dadswell, right behind Oscar Coper at the moment in the RSRE sports car. That's what I'm going to call it. I'm not going to go through the whole thing. But down the back straight they go. And it is just such a chunky car, that Mercedes. You really do lose other cars behind it. I actually commentated on a series on Saturday night that is a one-make series of the Mercedes-AMG GT3, and it is a wonderful, wonderful thing to watch. But here we go into the pits then. Bit of an accordion effect on the way in. That's what last time he's looking around the Mercedes to go to the pit lane. But yes, indeed, get the party poppers out. It's pit lane party time.
We have got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cars on pit road then. Matt Turnbull is out there on pit road with his very dodgy internet connection. I think he must be trying to tag off of Josh Thompson's internet there. But he is in the pit lane, ready and raring to go. Quite a lot of cars coming onto pit road now. Pretty much everyone, apart from Josh Thompson, who's still out there. 23rd lap in his stint. And he's keeping going right now. Just having a look. Everyone except Jason Hodgson have made one sort of pit stop throughout this race. And I would imagine that Josh is going to be heading down pit road very shortly. We're under an hour remaining in the race.
Yes, indeed. The first 45 minutes have flown by. One pit stop still to come after this, though. Don't forget, everybody. They have 2 mandatory stops in this. And Double Delta, I did not fat shame the Mercedes. I love it. You've got to love its curves and its size. It's a bulky car, and it works. It really does work. Either way, the Lamborghinis side by side now. That's Tom Stevens that Josh is just putting a lap on. Car 49 soaring past 89. Great shot there down the back straight. You've got to love it. Into Sunset Bend once more. Hard onto the brakes. You'll see it bobble around a little bit there.
I think he's heading on. Yep, he's heading on pit road here, surely.
Yeah, nice and tight on the way in. As late as you dare on the brakes. Gets it stopped. Well, gets it slowed down. You don't want to stop it. Creeps all the way down the pit lane. And this is one of the first of the 2 main swinging points that we could have here, Paul.
It certainly is. It's quite a fast pit lane, actually. It's 72 kilometres an hour. We're normally seeing it about sort of 60 kilometres an hour, aren't we, at some circuits? So, yeah, it's quite a speedier affair along here at Sebring compared to others. Now, Alex Arana was a 20.9 second pit box. So keep an eye on that time as Thompson staying in. He's going to fill it by the looks of things. And that means that it will allow Arana's go past. Here comes Foggy as well.
That's a long stop.
32.2 seconds. That is brimming it. There goes Foggy. And there goes Ross McFarlane. So if he's not careful, Matt Turnbull could get involved in this one in the ever-blinking car. No, he's fine as Josh. He's away in clear. So in 4th place, but he's dropped back a little bit off of McFarlane and Foggy.
Yeah, and I was just looking at the pit stop times there, and most of the Lamborghinis are over 30 seconds. To be fair, it's only the Audis and the McLaren that seem to have the ability to go under 30 seconds. I mean, even actually the BMW as well, just over 30. So it seems like maybe just some of these drivers at the front that have been saving the fuel, or they haven't quite run out, or they're just taking a little bit less, so they pit earlier for their last stint. So it's going to be intriguing. And I mean, it's one of those things. And to be fair, I've said this recently on another broadcast as well, Paul, but for things like this, we actually have less information available to us than you would in a real race. It's one of the very few moments where being in the sim is actually a kind of deficit in terms of what we can see, you know, people taking tyres, pit crews actually working on the cars and so on. But I think it keeps it that more interesting for us, doesn't it? Because we have to do a bit more guesswork.
I call it guesstimates. It's not guesswork. There is a bit of knowledge behind it, and it certainly is. You know, it's more of an acquired information that you've got over the years in the sim. And well, we're on board with Ben Palmer right now. He's got Alex Neller in front, who was in a bit of no man's land earlier on in that first stint, but now in the second stint he's moved forward. Nicole Foggy has just relinquished second place on the timing tower, you can see on the left hand side of your screen, and he has dropped behind Ross McFarlane then, who's in second. They are 10 seconds behind Alex Arana, but considering that Arana was only in pit road 8 seconds longer, that means he's pulled away a little bit of time, and I think that's him trying to make this tactic work of having the lighter car now. Yeah,
definitely. It's certainly gone his way at the minute.
But at the minute is crucial, because he's got to take a longer pit stop, his second pit stop.
Yeah.
So he's got to try and gain that time now to then lose it in that second pit stop.
Yeah, he needs that buffer. It's like if you get given a 5-second penalty, you know, you need to be able to absorb that into what you do later on in the race. So hopefully, for Arana's sake, he can manage that, and it'll be a fantastic first night in the McLaren in this championship, really. But you never know. It's not over till the fat lady sings. But we've still got some good movers in the field. You know, Mike Horder, he's doing a good job. He's climbed 19 spots to be 21st. We've got Brian Loynes, who's gained 14 spots to go up to 12th place. Michael Blake's gained 13. Jason Hodgson, 15. Some really, really strong drives. And Jesse Jones, really out of all the drivers that have gained double digits, Jesse Jones is the highest placed in 11th. At the minute. This is Jake Blackhall, your lead Pro-Am driver, just ahead of Tom Dadswell. These two both been very, very quick this season. Good to see Jake having a bit more luck this season, really, isn't it, Paul? He didn't have the best night at Belle Isle, let's face it, but
yeah,
he's, you know...
Belle Isle? Long Beach.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God. Oh, did I really just do that? But, wow. But you know what I mean, you know, street circuit. Yeah. But, I mean, even this season is a turnaround for Jake's luck. I do want to point out the fact that he actually said good luck with your championship and said that he was quitting last week. But, you know, it's frustration in the heat of the moment, and he's back and he's leading the Pro-Am class. So this is the battle for that lead, though. So he's not out of the woods yet.
I think he's quit this championship more times than I've quit dieting, so that's saying something, trust me. But here he is. He's in 9th place. He's got Tom Dadswell behind in 10th place. By the way, you can see the timing tower on the left-hand side. That's your last pit stop time. So you can see all those different pit stops there, how long people have been taking in them. Interesting to see that David Baker, who's making his recovery drive, he's on lap 13 of his stint, and Brian Loynes as well, lap 16 of their stint. They took early pit stops because of damage, so they'll be taking a longer pit stop in that second stop. Whether they'll have to take a splash and dash, I don't know, because Loynes, 13.5 seconds, I don't think that'll be quite long enough. Maybe if he'd have had a second or two longer, potentially would have made it on just 2 stops.
Yeah, that's going to be cutting it fine. I think that's the sort of thing that comes down to when does the leader cross the line at the end of the race. You know, does he cross it with 10 seconds left to go and give you an entire extra 2 minutes of driving, or does he cross the line pretty much with a few seconds to go but actually still, you know, sorts it out and doesn't give you the extra lap? There's a fine margin between the two, really, isn't there?
Certainly is a fine margin. By the way, speaking of fine margins, Mike Horder has just made it past Max Wolf. Of course, Max, who got wiped out by Mark Fletcher a little bit earlier on. He's in 21st place in the AM. He is the second place AM after Brian Loynes is up there in 12th place. But he's effectively the leading AM still in terms of those who have done... Oh, they're saying that. I'm just having a look. Yeah, 32 seconds was his pit stop. So, yeah, he's done a full stop. Michael Blake is the second placed AM with a 31.6 second pit stop. We mentioned about, mentioned about the Pro-Ams. Jake Blackall, Tom Dadswell, we were looking at just a few moments ago. And still in third place in Pro-Am, Matt Bunn, doing a good job, but he's on his own now. He's in 16th place.
Yeah, he's in a bit of no man's land. Sometimes that can be better, though. You know, you get into more of a rhythm. You can run your own race. You don't have to worry about traffic around you and what they're doing in relation to you. But that's kind of the opposite to what Alex Neller, who we're looking at now, has had. He was in no man's land earlier. Now he's got Ben Palmer chasing him down. Alex has been fantastic, though. I mean, last season, you know, he wasn't the fastest guy on the grid, but in that Ford, he really did shine. This time now, put him in the Lamborghini in a more competitive car. He's an absolute star of the championship. He's right up there. He's shown some really true pace. Not to mention that he's a top guy as well. We always enjoy having a chat with Alex. And he's currently staying ahead of Ben Palmer, doing a smashing job of it. I'm just wondering... I was just checking the previous lap times that they had, and he was actually quicker than Ben last time round. So he's definitely... It's not like he's being caught at this particular moment in time.
Yeah, they're sort of pretty much stagnant as they are. Fastest lap of the race is incredibly a 2 minutes .001. If only Nicole could have been 1,000th faster, that would have made me very happy indeed. But yeah, 1,000th of a second over that 2 minutes mark. He's not got Matt Turnbull to give him a slipstream like he had at Le Mans. Matt Turnbull, by the way, a 2 minutes .015, so he's not that much slower as Turnbull in terms of his fastest lap of the race. But yeah, here we are, Nicole Foggy behind Ross McFarlane. Well, Ross won't want to give this one up, and he won't want to lose out second place. They're right now 10.9 seconds behind Alex Arana, and they're lapping similar lap times. Arana was a 10th of a second quicker last time, so we are going to be going into dusk, aren't we, Chaz? Here, I've noticed just looking at the sim here that it is getting darker. So we are going to be getting towards, I think we might just hit sunset at the end of the race here.
Yeah, it's currently about 7:15 in the sim. The sun is set at, well, the sun is set, so it will set at 8 minutes past 8, quite aptly. So, yeah, with, what, 49 minutes to go, 48 and a bit now, it will be setting, but I don't think we'll get to pitch black darkness. No. I think when the sun does set, the sun's setting on this battle if they keep that up. Flipping heck. Adam Watson, and sideways. Very sideways goes Oscar Coper. Watson goes back through. Wow, that was a good save, to be fair, wasn't it?
Jesse Jones,
Coper, the car
second a tour. I think that was
fine.
I think that was down at... That must be a hardware failure.
Yeah. Car looks fine, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That's odd.
That must be a hardware failure.
Yeah, Jesse did say in the Discord, actually, after Le Mans that he was getting a lot of stutters on his screen. You know, it'd go black for a small amount of time. I've heard a few people having it recently. Here's his teammate Oscar Coper, though. You could say avenging him, but it's not really a direct fight. Adam Watson right behind him now. That Audi looks fantastic from this angle, doesn't it? But that's a real shame, that, for Jesse Jones. We've also got Jason Hodgson currently having a nightmare. I've got that he's off the circuit and dropping down the order very, very quickly, I'm afraid. So, not quite sure what's happened to Jason. Although he's come back on, so maybe just a little excursion into the grass there out of turn 1 or even into turn 2. It's easy to do, as we keep saying, but the car's not damaged by the look of it, so maybe he got lucky.
Jones is out of the race, by the way.
Oh, such a shame.
Retired. So we've now lost a few drivers. So Andy Shield and Ash Sutton. Matthew Doyle, Simon Neller, Luke Hobson, and now Jesse Jones, as well as a 6th retirement from this race. Although I say that, Liam Atkins, he's been sat on pit road for almost 16 minutes. I think it's safe to say that he's out of the race as well. Matt Bunn, well, he's carrying on his antics. He's been battling with Matt Fletcher here, and I think Fletcher has actually made a move on him, although behind Watson and Cooper. My goodness, what on earth are they doing? They rub door handles, and still amazingly, I mean, we saw how bad it was when Ben Gregory and David Baker got together out at Sunset Bend. These two managed to survive it, and they're at it again.
They just need to leave a little bit more room. This is getting too close to comfort. Oh, well, that was not room left by Oscar Coper. Watson was still down his inside, and it's easy to not leave enough room there. You know, it's a narrower piece of the circuit compared to everywhere else, but Coper, for me, just didn't leave the space there on the way through. Look at that, Fletcher moving around, Bunny flashing him back. That was very close indeed. Oscar, you know, the last lap as well, he'd been really driving at Adam's door. They've been so close together, both of them leaving barely an inch between them. Nice little move that from Adam out to the right-hand side. You'll see it here into turn 2. There's barely a car's width. Oscar gets down the inside. Adam's nose is still there. He's on the curb. And in fairness, there wasn't really much that Adam could do there. You could argue he backed out, but, you know, these are racing drivers. They're not going to do that.
Yeah, they're definitely not, no. And that means that they, Oscar Coper then, a little bit of damage to his rear wing, down into 23rd place at the moment, behind Ross Nicholson and Ben Gregory. Seb Hawkins, by the way, battling away with Max Wolf here. Audi versus Lamborghini. People will argue it's the same car, just a different body shell, but it's not. There are differences to the cars, and Seb doing a fantastic job trying to make his way past Max.
We've got Jesse Jones confirming as well. He's having back problems, finding it hard to brake, so really, really sad to hear that, I'm afraid, Jesse. But even still, good of you to let us know what's going on. But yes, I agree. You know, these two cars are very similar. They're built on the same chassis, effectively, the R8 and the Lamborghini Huracan. But they do have their own interesting characteristics, you know, the different aerodynamics, because, let's face it, the bodies are different shapes. The Lamborghini's more sort of hunkered down. It's a bit more chunky at the back end. The Audi is, realistically, a lot sleeker and a lot more flat than the Lambo. And it's very Germanly efficient, isn't it, really? But Seb Hawkins dazzling his way through the field and having a, well, not a bad day at the office. He's actually lost one place from where he started, but it's easy to do that around here. So, you know, he's sort of held station a bit. I'm intrigued by the grille they've painted on the front of that, because it looks like a very upset and angry Audi R8. But just ahead of him, the next car on track is Mike Horder. He's gained 22 spots, up to 18th so far. He is third in Pro-Am, fourth in Pro-Am, behind Matt Bunn, who is directly in front of him. What a drive this has been from Horder. Really amazing stuff, because nobody else has gained more than 14 places. That's Brian Loynes that's currently got that status.
Well, of course, Loynes owes us a pit stop. You can see the stint length on the left-hand side as well. I tell you what, I keep on finding more and more things that ATVO have added to this. So thank them so much for the work that they put into our new graphics package here. So yeah, we can give you all sorts of things, and we can even tell you what lap that they went into the pits as well. So you can see there, Brian Loynes, lap 9, David Baker, lap 12, and then everybody else around that lap 21, 22, 23, Josh Thompson, 24.
Yeah, you're going to get a couple of laps of fluctuation here or there, but it's the guys that have been involved in the incidents that are really the potential spoilers in the pack here, because sometimes I've seen drivers, even though they have an incident early on, they can come back from it because they're out of sync with the pit stops. They can take advantage of track position and they can just make it work as long as you react quickly enough. As Brian Loynes comes in now, so does Ben Gregory, obviously both in their own respective incidents earlier on. But they're going to try and take advantage of this now, because this is, of course, going to be their last stop. It's going to be 42 minutes to the end, so the car won't feel great at the end of it, Paul, but they won't have to worry about it. And I think it gives you a bit more confidence, because you already know where you're coming out, once you're out of the pit lane, you see the cars moving around you in terms of who pits, who comes out of the pits. You know that that's how it's then fixed until the end, and you're the first one there. One of the OGs, you could say.
Brian Loynes comes out of pit road then, 31.7 seconds stopped in his pit stall. So that's the sort of time frame we expected really from him, to be able to take a full stop. He'll be hoping to make it to the end with 42 minutes. I would imagine that he will make it to the end with 42 minutes remaining. It might need a little bit of fuel saving here and there, but he should be okay for it as he comes back out in 29th place then for Brian in the amateur category. It is still Alex Arana who's out there on his own at the front. He's got a little bit of lap traffic that's battling each other at the moment here, so he's got to be wary of these two. Although saying that, the 73 car of Jason Hodgson moving to one side. He's trying to keep the slipstream of Jim Whitehouse in front, but Arana getting ahead. He was thinking about throwing it down the inside. You're a bit far away there, Alex. I know you're quick, but yeah, he's working his way through. And that's the thing. He's hitting that lap traffic first. They're maybe not awake to the fact that there's lap traffic, that there's traffic coming through on them. The rest of them, McFarlane, Foggy, Josh, they're all aware now for those cars coming through.
Yeah, it's very true. And to be fair, I mean, in the situation we saw there, Jim Whitehouse doesn't want to lose any time or even a position to Jason Hodgson. So you will get these battles where once you overtake one person, they want to quickly get back in, slot in behind you again to make sure they don't lose time. And it's where we see issues arise. But traffic is something they have to manage in these races that they don't really have in the other formats. Of course, the 3 20-minute sprints and the 2 40-minute feature race nights that we have in this championship. So the fact we only have 4 Enduros, it really does go to show the teams that are more involved in some of the higher profile endurance series and iRacing, and the ones that have the experience with things like that. And I think that's definitely what showed with the Williams cars last season. But I mean, Pure Sims since then, they've stepped it up. I've been commentating, and I'm sure we've both been commentating on Pure Sims in many a high profile event, and the team has continued to grow and go from strength to strength. And I think the development of what they've done with that and the ability to get themselves in higher profile series, more endurance stuff, it really is showing now with their performances, especially in these Enduro rounds. They're not just a one-trick pony, are they?
Well, we'll talk about the 24-hour E-Series, that formerly known as the Neo Endurance Championship, of course. They're involved in that, along with Team Mad as well, and Williams Esports are in it. I think they are.
I think so.
That'd be one to quickly ask. But yeah, so you've got 3 relatively high-profile teams in this championship who are involved in a big series like that, which is broadcast on various YouTube channels, including the 24-hour series YouTube channel as well. So it gives them plenty of exposure that they wouldn't necessarily be getting just by running in leagues such as this. I'm not saying that anything disparaging about this league. I'm just saying that it's not as high a profile as series which are getting world-renowned championship supporting them.
Yeah, for sure. And there are some legendary, very high-profile series on iRacing, and it comes with the wave of the sort of sim racing boom that we've had in the last 12 months or so. And it's incredible that it's been over 12 months now since the world drastically changed. This is Dave Baker, who's going through a drastic change of his own in this race now, as he's out of sync with everybody else's pit stops, takes on some fuel and cracks on with it now. And Dr. Dave leaves the box to go for his final stint. He's got the endurance light bar on the front of that Lamborghini, as he's been running all season, so he's well prepared just in case it does go dark. He's got an Audi coming through here. That's going to be Morgan Butler, his stablemate.
No, it is. No, it is, yes. I thought it was one of the Sim sticker cars for a second then, but it's not. It's Morgan Butler, and Morgan's not going to make things easy for him either out there. The Butler, the amateur driver, and he's found himself in 25th place now as Morgan. It's not been the best of races for Morgan, I think it's fair to say.
Yeah, he had an incident early on, and then he's been out of sync with the pit stops since then. He pitted on lap 1. So he's needed to put some work in. For a while, he was the highest placed driver of those that had pitted after the first stops for a very long time. But obviously that's because he'd taken advantage of the fact that he was the first in. So, you know, it levels out in the long run. He'll be spurred on by having Dave behind him in this race. He's actually, I've checked, and in fairness, I was looking in the Discord earlier, but Morgan has actually changed from one Discord channel to another, maybe during his pit stop. He's actually in with Pete Harrod, Ross McFarlane and Michael F. Doker at the moment, but he's definitely muted. Dave Baker's in with Jake Blackhall and Matt Turnbull. So there's a bit of a mismatch of some of the Pure Sims guys all chatting with one another, but they're all in their own respective channels, communicating as they do. And I mean, the whole Discord just comes alive on nights like this with all the drivers doing what they're doing, speaking to who they're speaking to. And I mean, the boosted one will be hilarious right now. There's 8 of them in one channel, and that includes Ben Gregory, so he makes up for 8 people on his own, to be fair, when you're in a race. But either way, they'll all, that's one of the bonuses of this. You know, in real motorsport, you don't get the drivers talking to each other over the radio. I would love to see it. I think it would be absolutely hilarious, especially in the case of Lando Norris and Daniel Ricciardo in this forthcoming F1 season. But you know, it's something that we do get as a bonus in sim racing, that we can communicate with other drivers within our team. And you can also join to hurl abuse at them in other Discord channels, which I do not condone. We do not want any of that. I've seen it too many times in sim racing, unfortunately. But either way, this is Jonathan Walker, who has had some wonderful screenshots done for him by Moreno Sorica, our reigning champion of the World GT Championship. He's back out there, Mr. Freem himself, and he's getting very friendly with the back of Jason Hodgson's Lamborghini there, Paul.
Yeah, this is a nice little fight. All 3 of these are a lap down, and it is Jim Whitehouse at the front of this one, and then it's Jason Hodgson, and finally Jonathan Walker, who is having a good sort of view of this. And these two of Whitehouse and Hodgson have been fighting away, and it's slowing each other down, and it's allowed Walker to, as he just runs out wide over the dirt there, it's just allowed him to reel these 2 in and really start getting involved in this little bit of a battle. He's having a look, trying. Oh, he's having more than a look. He's going through.
Flipping heck, if that's a look, I don't want to know what a headbutt is, but wow, what a send down the inside from Walker. Great looking car, same with the Altitude Esports machine, but this is going to help Jim Whitehouse now, because now Jonathan Walker's taking on the role of, right, I'm the one in the middle, I'm the one that's going to fight. Hodgson gets on the brakes early. Quite disorientating them not putting the position number light thing on the front of the Lamborghini, but I don't think it's something they run anymore. Moreno Sorica saying thanks in chat. It's great to see him still in and around the championship, of course, our reigning champion for Williams Esports. But it's good to see Jonathan getting involved, though. You know, Mr. Freem himself, he's doing a fantastic job in this race so far, considering that he had a torrid start to it. You know, he's still pushing on, still going with the spirit of the championship. And it's just intriguing to see a sponsor out there racing. I mean, we've had Immortal, obviously Michael Blake, racing in championships before as well. But Jonathan, as far as I know, quite new to this this scenario. So it's good to see.
It's good to see him getting stuck in here. He's got the 2nd, 3rd and 4th battle catching up to him as well. As here he goes. He's looking to the inside towards Sunset Bend. This isn't the easiest of overtakes to make, especially in that inside line, because you've got to take that tighter line. You've got to be slowed down. In fact, that was a nice move. Whitehouse just got it a little bit loose through the middle of Sunset Bend, and that means that Jonathan was able to move forward up to
we've got a runner in the pits.
Now. Yes.
Race leader in. So this is going to be his final stop of the race, of course. McFarlane, Foggy, Thompson and Turnbull have all gone through already. Obviously, they weren't too far behind. So we need to just wait and see how this pans back out. The McLaren, a very, very good-looking car, of course. And Arana is doing it some very good justice at the moment. Goes with the overlay as well with all the green. He's going to drive through the back of the Porsche safety car. Break the immersion, Alex. But he's going to be pleased with his run so far, Paul. But as we've seen in previous Enduros, it's this last stint after the 2nd stops that really makes all the difference.
So that is the key point right there. That time is going to be what we look out for. He had about an 11-second lead over Ross McFarlane when he came into the pit. So if Ross McFarlane can have a pit stop of around 10 seconds or so, and he's getting stuck in traffic, which isn't helping either. And this is that battle that we were seeing. It's difficult to get past traffic when they're fighting themselves for position. So intriguing to see whether Arana can keep ahead of these drivers as we head in to the end of this race. This is going to be an intriguing final half hour or so of this event here today.
Yeah, it's going to be a very, very odd one for McFarlane if he gets held up any further. And Jim's just trying to figure out, which way do you want me to go, mate? Where do you want me to go? Ross goes over to the right. Jim goes over to the right a little bit. Now stays over to the left. That's going to make Ross's life harder because he's going to be slower on the inside of the corner, squeezed up against the wall. Foggy going with him. And then, of course, Josh Thompson still hanging off their coattails as well. He's actually ahead of Jim now on the exit of the corner. Behind them, Turnbull is going to be next. But this is the ever-developing fight. Been a bit stable in terms of positions for the last couple of laps, but they're just running their race till the end. Josh runs a bit wide onto the gravel, but you can see he's backing out early. He's not got any intention at the moment, excuse me, sorry, of making any move on circuit as things stand. He just wants to follow in his footsteps and just try and get that move done right near the end after the pit stops.
Jake Blackhall's had an issue at Sunset Bend, so he has fallen back a little bit, lost at least one place, so that's dropped him down to 8th in the race. Here, of course, pit stops ongoing. Michael Evdoka on pit road. You can see in the timing tower on the left-hand side. Keep up to date as well with everything going on because there is live timing available. RaceSpot.tv/timing2. The link is in the pinned comment in the chat at the top of the chat window, so keep up to date with everything going on in this one. But right now, it's an intriguing battle for the lead. McFarlane, Foggy and Thompson. How long can they go? How much fuel have they been able to save? And will they be able to jump Alex Arana after the pit stops? Arana is actually up behind Blackhall, so if they could get a little favour from the Australian Jake, then that's what they need right now.
Yeah, definitely. Same stable mates. That can be the strength in numbers coming into play. I mean, we know that Arana's pit stop was slower than the other guys. Again, obviously another 23.7 second pit stop, where the others were always 30 seconds or more, or 29 seconds or more. But they're going to be pitting later. They're not going to need to take as much fuel. They're going to be closer to the end. They're not going to have to fill it up as much. This could, based on if Arana gets past Jake quickly, this could just come down to how good their calculations are, and also whether we get another lap extra compared to what these guys expect at the end, you know, because if some of them fuel it really, really closely to the limit, as here comes Josh Thompson, if some of them fuel it right to the limit of the 1 hour 45 mark and don't consider the extra lap, then we could see them either running out of fuel or just having to fuel save at the very death of the race and losing positions.
No, that little bit of a look from Thompson has just lost them a little bit of time on Ross McFarlane. Of course, traffic getting out the way there, which was nice for them. I say that, but it was Walker, the series sponsor, who'll be wanting to try and ensure that he can hang with the leaders here, but he's a lap down, as I say. And remember, blue flags, you are asked to. It's not a strict you must jump out the way, and but it's not the iRacing thing of them only being advisory. You are asked to help aid the faster drivers past. Yeah,
definitely. You know, you've got to show some etiquette towards it, and I think the people that argue, you know, oh, it's not mandatory, they're just the ones that don't want to give up a single tenth at all, even if the race leader's coming through. You know, it's the more stubborn drivers that you really don't want to catch in something like this. But again, one of the positives of league racing and iRacing is that you do get such great communities behind this. You know, everybody in this championship knows one another. They all chat week in, week out, and they all have this sort of, it's not even a gentleman's agreement, it's just the fact that they all have this etiquette about them. They know to move out of the way. I was kind of expecting Walker to just maybe make life a little bit more difficult for Thompson there, but he did the very respectable thing and treated everybody in that battle as fairly as possible. And now Arana, well, he's not going to be thinking about treating Jake as fairly as possible. He's just going to be thinking about getting ahead. But Foggy is in indeed. And the others carry on, which is quite an intriguing one.
Foggy did lead that group, remember, early on after the first pit stop. Now, was that Jake Blackhall just giving a little flash of the brakes to say, you go by, son? And that was the case. So Jake realises that his fight is not with Alex Arana. Look at how much he's having to fight the wheel, is Alex. But this is going to be crucial now. How good grief. How is that going to pan out now with the pit stops? Nicole Foggy is getting away. And this is going to be Alex Arana. There's Foggy leaving the pit. So Alex Arana is ahead of Nicole Foggy for sure. And that is an ominous omen for Josh Thompson and Ross McFarlane right now.
Yeah, that's a massive, massive change at the front of this race. So we have some sort of confirmation at the moment of what's going on, but either way, I'm excited to see what some of the other guys can do now, because they only have to take a lap less, and that's 2 minutes of driving in these cars. Ross McFarlane did his fastest lap of the race last time round, so he's definitely got the pace to continue forward, but at the end of the day, it's what the fuel situation is all about. That's what this is going to come down to now, Paul. A lot of it has been so stable most of the way through. Pit stop strategy is once again going to decide one of these races.
It's fantastic. I love this. I love the endurance nights here in the World GT Championship. Sponsored by 3M, Immortal and Pure Sims, of course, here on RaceSpotTV. Paul Smith and Chaz Draycott bringing you the final 26 minutes of this race here. And what a race it's been so far. We're in the pit stop cycle. And, well, McFarlane is staying out for another lap. So too is Josh Thompson at the front of the field. Matt Turnbull in third place. He seems to have stabilised his internet connection, and he's currently in third place in your pro standings. Tom Dadswell, the top Pro-Am driver at the moment, is in sixth place, even though his number board says seventh, ahead of Jake Blackhall, who's in eighth place in this race, second in Pro-Am. And then the third place Pro-Am is Ross Nicholson in the Audi, the Sim Stickers car, doing a sterling job in 16th place at the moment. But of course, with that pit stop cycle going on at the moment, we'll have to wait and see how that pans out. At the moment, amateur-wise, Max Wolf is your top Am in 14th place, ahead of Michael Blake in second place in Am. And third place in Am is Paul Webster. He's actually dropped back a little bit from Michael Blake in the second part of the race. So that's your top threes as they stand at the moment. Jake Blackhall pits, so that means that Alex Arana does not have anybody around him. He could concentrate on going forward here. Jake Blackhall, 14.6 seconds on the pit stop, so those pit stops are getting a little bit quicker, but I don't think it's going to be enough here in this battle, because Arana is only 34.3 seconds behind your race leader, and those pit stops are taking about 39 seconds.
Yeah, if you think about it, Arana's two pit stops were, what, 23 seconds. So even if it was a normal length stop, he'll have gained, what, 7 seconds per stop on each of these guys? 14 seconds in all. So if you're going to make the difference, and if you're going to have the difference in laps between your two pit stops, it needs to be a big one. So McFarlane is going to try and stretch this as long as possible. I doubt they're taking tyres. He's tucking it in tight in here, isn't he? It was a very strange line there. It did look like he was coming in, but he just tucked it in tight to try and get the shortest route around the corner.
Lap time. Down the straight. Look at that lap time from Ross McFarlane, 1:59.870. The track is getting cooler out there, everybody, so it will mean that you will be getting those lap times picking up. But look at that lap time, 59.870. Josh Thompson's fastest lap is a 2 minutes .0. I mean, it is incredibly close between the fastest laps, but McFarlane has just picked up that pace again, and he's pulling away from Josh Thompson right now. Yeah,
fastest lap of the race for McFarlane. Awesome stuff. And that was actually, Josh did that on his last lap as well. That was his personal best. So it's, like you say, definitely coming alive now. Is this circuit? It's cooling down a little bit, less taxing on the tyres. So as the light fades, the grip increases, really. Now the sun is setting. In the sim at the moment, I'll just take a quick look at what time it is. It is 20 to 8 in the sim. 19:41 if you want to be definitely sure. 1941, the year that the B-17s started operating out of Sebring, actually. But only about 20-25 minutes until the sun properly sets, so it will be setting, but we will not get darkness. We can definitely say that now. And these guys will not have to rely on headlights, which is probably a good thing with Arana, because it doesn't even look like the McLaren has headlights on at this point. But, you know, he's done a fantastic job so far as Arana. He took the lead off the start, the only McLaren in the race. He's managed the fuel well, but this different strategy, Paul, we don't often see people go for those sorts of risks, do we? We just have the uniform situation of people ragging it until it's run out of fuel and then just go again and repeat. But Arana thought, you know, I'm going to spread this out. I'm going to make this work for me, see whether I get anything from it. And it's worked tenfold.
It's worked magnificently for him so far. Of course, we've still got we've still got 22, just under 22 minutes of the race. Ross McFarlane pits. Josh Thompson stays out. So this is the one of the crucial ones again, because McFarlane was up there at the head of your field as well. Where will he come out of the pits? Matt Turnbull staying out another lap. But here we go. McFarlane is on pit road. He's waiting patiently. Arana will be coming through. Where is he? Car 67.
He's just come out the last corner as Arana.
15.5 seconds. How will this pan out? Arana's already coming. Oh, he's coming through.
Oh, it's going to be close.
There he is, and he's behind. McFarlane has been able to pull out some monster laps there and been able to get ahead of Alex Arana. But this is going to be a fight. Absolute fight to the end of this one. This is going to be absolutely sensational stuff here in the World GT Championship. Glad you're all on board. You want to tell your friends, come along for the end of this one, because this is going to be an absolute thriller. The sun is setting here at Sebring, and this business is about to pick up, and it certainly is picking up right now.
Yes, indeed. We've got the length of a sprint race still to go, which is just even more entertainment for us than entertainment for everybody watching. And don't forget, if you are enjoying the show, you make sure you like and subscribe. There's plenty more of it to come on RaceSpotTV and in other series as well. But what a couple of laps from Ross McFarlane. He has absolutely nailed it. Fastest lap of the race, and it came at the time he definitely needed to get it done. And he has responded. And with all the pressure on him to do that as well, to make this strategy work, what a fantastic bit of driving. But this is the thing now, Paul. He needs to try and hold on ahead of our consistent race leader, Alex Arana.
Yeah, Arana now is going from the hunted to being the hunter. You can see how much that McLaren moves about. We saw how much he was having to work the wheel, so he is doing a sensational job out there. Look at it, the back end dancing around, and he is going to do absolutely fantastic. But down the back straight then, in towards another lap. Race leader, Josh Thompson, still staying out there. So too is Matt Turnbull, Alex Nella and Ben Palmer are on to pit roads. The final pit stops are coming through. Tom Dadswell, your top Pro-Am, is on to pit road as well. So this one, I think this battle between these two could go to the end. I think Alex Arana may be trying to look after his tyres a little bit. Oh, sliding the back end around turn one there. Well, he's not looking after the tyres that much, but there's a bit of lap traffic ahead that may help out.
Yeah, that's the thing. He needs to pray for stuff like this now, because McFarlane's had a really good outlap as well. 2 minutes point, sorry, obviously it was a 2:30.3, sorry, because of his pit stop. Apologies, I was looking at the wrong car on the timing. But he's already down the inside of this traffic. And every single corner that you're ahead of the traffic while your rival is not is an absolute nightmare for you. It's Adam Hedgecock right in front of him now with the very stylish gold wheels on his boosted Motorsport Ferrari. And I think just in front of that is Morgan Butler, the next car ahead as well. So obviously a stablemate of Ross McFarlane. He'll be trying to help out as much as he can. Arana, no affiliation with any of these boys really, so he's not got any sort of advantage like that. But even still, it's been a fantastic performance from him. The flamethrower that is the McLaren. And now Hedgecock needs to move over. Like we said, though, you're not obliged to. You know, you don't have to get out of the way. But we all know Hedge, he's a true gentleman. And kindly gets out of the way. McFarlane goes past Butler just in front. So there's still a car between them, albeit not for position, but either way. Now, is Morgan going to do anything here to help Ross? It's not really the place to do it, though. You need to sort of respectfully just move over at this point. Oh, Bunny's off, apparently. Matt Bunny's been having a fantastic race so far. He's just gone off the circuit for a short amount of time and come back on. And again, it's just turns 1 and 2, so maybe a bit of a red herring.
You never know. Josh Thompson still out there, lap 20 of his stint. Matt Turnbull, 21 laps on his stint right now. We saw about 22. We saw about 22, 23 laps on the first stint, of course, with that bit of fuel saving. And remember, Josh was sat at the back of that queue of cars of McFarlane, of Arana, and of Foggy. So he'll have been saving a lot of fuel in that Lamborghini. He's just not quite got that pace there as Evdurka comes through, because Matt Fletcher is on pit road. Evdurka, what a recovery that's been, because we saw how he seemed to be struggling early on in the race, and that's the problem with pit exit, of course, is getting cars coming out of pit road. We saw it in the Sebring 12 hours in real life at the weekend as well, how there was an accident at turn 1. So yeah, re-entry to the track is tricky around here, but yeah, Evdurka, it's worth pointing out, Chaz, my goodness, words. I'm thinking of Josh Thompson at the front of the field. But, you know, it's worth pointing out, great recovery. He was down in, what, 15th at one point?
Yeah, he seemed to have a couple of laps where just nothing went his way. You know, he ran wide at Sunset Bend. He spun it on the inside of Sunset Bend. He just lost positions everywhere. It just seemed like he had some sort of like sieve in the back of that car that was just throwing positions out. Another lap for Josh Thompson. How is he keeping this car out there? And, I mean, to be fair, it's more time on track with a very little amount of fuel in it, and it's obviously less fuel that he needs to take in the final stop. So Josh could be a real factor here as there's a car around in front of him.
Oh,
no! Oh, it's Bunny. Was that Bunny? It was.
It was.
Oh, out of all people. Series admin, Matt Bunn. Oh, that's nightmare fuel for Josh Thompson. Will he ever have any luck in this championship? Apologies for the volume there, everybody, and I'm gonna have to apologise to my partner as well. I may have soundproof foam in this office, but flipping out.
Well, here we go. Here's the onboard then with Josh, and you are just going to see a lot of smoke in front of you through turn 1. It's easily done, especially in that Audi, and you just see, well, where do you go? Oh, that car just rolls forward.
Oh.
And there's absolutely nothing that Josh can do there. And there's very little that Matt can do in that one as well.
Oh, yeah, that's it. You know, the car always, when it's been going sideways, even if you are on the brakes, it does sort of regain traction and still move forward a little bit. But with iRacing have recently updated the smoke, haven't they? And it's a lot harder to see through. And, you know, it may have clouded the judgment of Josh there, you could say, in quite literal terms. But that is such a massive shame, because it could have been so exciting to see where Josh... Now, literally, we were talking about it as it happened, but that's endurance racing for you, Paul. You know, endurance racing sleeps for nobody. It's longer races, but it's more time for things to go to pot, and it's just completely savage racing. It's a real shame for Josh, that. Real shame.
Well, what it does mean is that the leader right now, because Matt Turnbull has gone onto pit road, is Ross McFarlane, and he is 2.3 seconds ahead of Alex Arana, so it's not working out for Arana here. You can see him in the background, a shot there. He is not keeping up with Nicole Foggy, and with Ross McFarlane, should I say. Nicole Foggy is not that far behind Alex either, so we could be on for a 1-2 for a Pure Sims outfit. Although he's got to work his way past a few others there. But, yeah, we've been... Once again, it seems to be that we get robbed of these battles for the lead of the endurance races here.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? But part and parcel of it, I suppose. But, yeah, from an entertainment standpoint, it definitely shot the fox there, I'm afraid. Josh will be absolutely seething after that. You know, like I say, not really anything Bunny could have done. Not really much Josh could have done. Just a racing incident, car going around. You roll the dice when you try and avoid an incident like that, and you make your judgment. But that was such a shame as John Roberts there coming back on with Mark Woodhouse. in close contention. Those two a few laps apart, though. John down in 42nd place, not having an easy night so far. But we look at Nickel Foggy, current championship leader, current Enduro Cup leader as well, trying to chase down Alex Arana. The gap is 3.2 seconds, then it's 2.6 from Arana to McFarlane. Here's a battle for 12th and 13th place. Or it would have been 12th and 13th. Apologies. Obviously, they've had pit stops since then. This is Fletcher and Pete Harrod. And honestly, I think we've had this before, and you've said, who would you root for out of these two? I could not tell you between one of these, because Pete lives far enough to throw a stone at my house, while Mark Fletcher's got my phone number. And he got me the Sports 2000 gig, so I could be out of that if I upset Mark. But either way, two fantastic lads, two very potent racing drivers. Pete Harrod, obviously champion a few seasons ago.
Yep.
Mark Fletcher has gained some incredible pace in the last year or so on iRacing, and it continues to show in this championship. He's always up there, isn't he?
He certainly is. He's been battling in that pro standings as well, trying to keep up there for the lead of the championship. It's beautiful golden glow
just
here
about to say.
in this
Gorgeous.
race. It's absolutely stunning. Is the sunset here, and you'll see if we go on board with anybody when they're going into Sunset Bend, you'll see why it's called Sunset Bend, because the sun just absolutely comes through right into your face through that corner. Battle between Seb Hawkins and David Baker. This is 13th and 14th. The Good Doctor in 13th for the 3M car. Seb Hawkins in the Williams Esports number 15. The Razor blue and green. And doing a good job of hounding David Baker. But David Baker's one of those drivers who is very difficult to overtake. He's good at keeping his head and not making the mistakes. Took a little bit of a break from the series last season, but he's back, and it's great to see him out there, and he just seems to be getting quicker and quicker as he goes along, David.
Yeah, it's all about restoring your confidence, especially in GT3 cars as well. You know, they do change quite often in iRacing. They're difficult to handle on if you've been out of the scene for a while. But Seb Hawkins, he'll be trying to dazzle Dave from the rear view. But down the straight they go then, all the way down to Sunset Bend. There you go. Look at the glow. It's wonderful, isn't it? On the way in, careful of the wall on the right. Very different lines again. You can see Dave took a very gradual turn in, very close to the wall there, though, with Seb Hawkins. And the thing is, no matter what you do around there, as long as you do your own line the way you intended, it's quite an even playing field on the way out, isn't it? Because it all makes sense and it all levels itself out. But, oh, look at this. Seb looking down the inside, but he's done himself a bit of a mischief there because he loses pace on the exit.
And that's the thing. You can take different lines into turn one as well. Sun glaring in the eyes. It's particularly bad, actually, if you race in VR.
Yes.
It makes it extremely difficult if you race in VR to be able to see where you're going out there. So, certainly.
Sorry, I was going to say that's because it's a different field of view in VR. It's a wider field of view, so the wider you have it, the more the glare affects the sort of theoretical lens that you're looking through. And I've noticed it before since changing to triple screens, that when it goes to a certain scenic camera and the sun's out and it faces towards it, all three screens are just bright white, just because the glare fills up all three of them. But you're right. I mean, I've heard many an issue, especially at Sebring, from people in VR. And the cat's eyes have just lit up at the side of the circuit. One of my favourite things about Sebring. Great stuff.
Yeah, the lights have gone on, so it's reached that point of the evening where the headlights illuminate the track. They do take slight effect here, and David with the endurance bar on there will be certainly feeling the effects and thanking the effect of that headlight as they go along there. So, great stuff between these two. Alex Neller and Ben Palmer, they're pretty close together as well. And they're battling over 6th place at the moment. So Alex Neller in a good spot in that boosted Jericho car. And he is doing a good job, a sterling job up there in 6th place at the moment. Actually did a race around here on Friday night, and Alex was in that one. It was the Michelin Pilot Challenge in iRace on Friday evening. We were in second split with the top iRacing person in our second split was 3,700. That tells you how strong the strength of field was in the top split.
Flipping heck. scary stuff in it sometimes. I mean, you do see the odd official race. It often gets posted in some discords that I'm in. Just, people say, oh, wow, look at this, a soft, as they call it, which I do not hate in any way. But it's just awesome. The level on iRacing, just in general, has been stepped up so much, not only through the COVID pandemic in the last 12 months, but just in the last couple of years alone. I mean, since I started commentating on iRacing, I've just noticed this unbelievable rise in talent. It's made me grateful that I'm in the commentary box and not in a car, because, God, it made me look bad. But it really has been so strong. And, it makes for better racing for us to sit back and broadcast as well. It's a lot of fun to cover it. And we do get these names coming through from the ranks all the way up in the sort of feeder series, as you will. Like we were talking about before, less prominent series, and then you'll see them in World Championships all of a sudden, and you'll have that moment of, oh, I knew him before he was famous. But, you do get that even in the sim racing world, much like you do in the motorsport world. You get a driver that joins, cracks on with, whatever they want to do, they get noticed, and then they sign for a team, and then they just rise to this brilliance that you see the drivers get to. And it's quite heartwarming to see that sim racing can reflect the real world in such an accurate way like that. It just, it doesn't try to, but it just does.
Of course, two drivers who have been in this series, who have driven in the series that are in the Porsche Tag Sport Super Cup, Moreno Sarica and Josh Thompson, of course, who, the less said about this race, the better for him. But we've got this battle for 12th place. Chris Wood, David Baker and Seb Hawkins. So Seb and David... my heart goes into my mouth every time I see them get that close to the wall on the inside there. They've got 6 minutes remaining here, so we've got about 3-4 laps remaining in this race. This battle's really coming alive with Chris in that BMW, the big chunky boy. It's not really the strong suit of this track for this BMW. It's suited to more sort of long straights and long sweeping corners. Not quite technical sections, what you see right here.
Yeah, I'd say it's more big-boned, the BMW, but I'm sure that's what they'd argue anyway. Either way, it looks like David Baker has got a good run here, actually, on Chris Wood. Just as you say it, Paul, it doesn't suit that section of the circuit. Dave goes down the inside. Seb Hawkins says, thank you. Go on, Dave, get on with it. Crack on. Through you go. Seb Hawkins says, all right, thanks, mate. Lovely stuff, but not an ideal moment for Chris Wood there, unfortunately, but... the quality of Dave Baker and Seb Hawkins, that's not too much of a setback for Chris. I think anybody would be pleased to be around them in a fight like this.
And, David wouldn't have appreciated the little bit of a nudge in the apex of the corner as well. Those two were able to carry on. Chris, I think, just thankful that he didn't get involved in any shenanigans and is able to carry on with this race in 14th place now. For Chris, Dave Baker up to 12th then out of this one, and certainly doing a good job out there. And I'm just having a look because I've got access to some information that I will not share until after the race when everybody else will be able to see it. But there are currently 2 drivers on 0x races. So 0 instance.
Wow. I was going to try and take a guess at who they were, but I don't think I'll get it right in a month of Sundays, but my guesses would have been Tom Stevens and Mark Woodhouse. But look at this from Seb Hawkins around the outside. Carries all the pace, and that's the thing. It may be a longer line around there, but you're forcing the driver on the inside to wash off a bit more speed, keep their line tight, and Seb Hawkins gets ahead of Dave Baker. But will Dave get the cutback out of turn 1? He's got good pace mid-corner. Seb knows what's coming. He moves over. Nothing doing.
And look who's hanging around in the background who's caught up to this battle. It's a 4-car train now because Oscar Cooper is joining in the fun. He's saying, are we all fighting for position here? I'll have a piece of that as well in the Mercedes. So it's Audi, it's Audi, Lamborghini, BMW and Mercedes all together out there on track. We're only missing the McLaren and we've got pretty much got the field.
And then we just need someone to absolutely pile drive all of them in a Ford. But it's a really, really good quartet of cars at the moment. Nice to see the Mercedes back out there. I know I've said it a few times tonight, but it just is. It's a real staple in any GT3 field around the world. It's just been such a consistent car. It's always been a good all-rounder. And look at that. Oscar Cooper says, yeah, watch this, Chaz. Look how good it is on the brakes down the inside of Chris Wood. Thank you very much, he says. And away he goes. Obviously not looking in the mirror because that's only a face a mother could love. But he now wants to go after Dave Baker and keep this progression. That's the thing, when you get to a battle like this, you want to not just get one move done and then sit behind the car in front. You want to get the moves done consistently, one after the other, make your way through it as if the battle isn't there, and it gives you confidence to push on. And I've noticed, Paul, we're just about a lap and a bit from the end of the race now. That has creeped up, flipping heck.
Yeah, so it depends when the leader comes across the line. I do think we're going to get 2 more laps out of this one. So, yeah, we should be getting towards the end of this race. I mean, look at the lead that Alex Arana has lost now. 4.1 seconds to Ross McFarlane. We see it time and again in these endurance races. Ross McFarlane just comes alive, doesn't he?
Oh, Bunny's gone off again, by the way. It's just lit up on my my timing screen. But yeah, Ross is just a hero in these races. You know, he manages it so well. Hawkins going defensive here with Baker. Coper looking down the inside, very close through turn 1. But we've got McFarlane now. Yeah, he's about 3/4 of the way around a lap, so he will go on to the last lap this time round. These guys will be grateful for that as well, because although, to be fair, they've got another entire lap to do after this, so they won't be grateful for that at all. They've got more battling to do than most other people on track. It will be Matt Bunn. If Ross is about to cross the line in a moment, Matt Bunn will be the first car behind him, so Ben Gregory will be the car that goes last as Coper and Baker make contact. Apologies, I was looking at the timing screen. Chris Wood takes advantage of it. Maybe something a little bit naughty there, Paul. Sorry, I just missed that because I was looking at the time.
It was a late lunge. It was definitely a late lunge, and Oscar made that count, and Baker just getting a bit squirrely, and Chris Wood has said, oh, well, I'll take 14th now. Thank you very much. I was there a minute ago. I want to be back there, but Baker won't give this one up without a fight between the two of them. So definitely this one's going to go to the end. They'll all got one more lap. But speaking of one more lap, there's a car in the background. That was Bunn again, getting very loose out of turn number 5. But Ross McFarlane, I mean, in fact, we've got a car off in the background of shot, actually. And I believe that was Kieran Chung. It is.
Oh, that looks done to me. The microwave goes ding. That is definitely cooked. But, yeah, Ross has just been brilliant. You know, early on, I was thinking earlier, just when these pit stops were about to happen, the last pit stops, I was thinking, what would I say if Ross won this race? Because he didn't, early on, he won't mind me saying, he did not look like the man that could win this race. It looked like it was between the top 3, and Ross was going to be in that battle all the way through and just linger behind. But that second stint was just absolutely magical from him. He did exactly what he needed to do. He got the fastest lap of the race when it mattered. And even when Alex has come out the pits and Ross has come out the pits, he's continued to open up that gap. It's been a truly awesome performance that, for a while, stayed very much under our radar, I think we'd both admit, Paul.
Don't forget as well, Tom Dadswell is the leading Pro-Am. Baker and Wood are changing positions left, right and centre. And Max Wolf is your top AM driver in this race. But down the back straight for the final time into Sunset Bend. The sun sets on the race, and it's going to be a glorious race then for Ross McFarlane across the line. The Pure Sims Esports driver takes victory here in the third of the 4 endurance races of the World GT Championship this season. Alex Arana manages to hang on to second place for him. Looking back to your Pro-Ams then, here's Tom Dadswell, your top Pro-Am driver. He's just ahead of Jake Blackhall by about 2.3 seconds. You can see Blackhall just behind him there in that red Craig setup shop car. Into Sunset Bend for the final time. Be careful, mindful of the bumps. And out the final corner he comes across the line to take victory here in your Pro-Am category. There he is across the line. Not the most exuberant celebration, but we'll take it. Max Wolf then, Evo SR, he's come into the series midway through, and he seems to be setting the world alight in terms of the amateur category. Down the back straight he goes. He's going to put a lap on somebody there. That's the number 5 car of Andrew Archer.
Not Angus.
Yes, not Angus, that's for sure. And Max Wolf then, I mean, he's been pretty much at the front of your amateurs all the way through this race. Through the final corner then for the Evo SR driver, and he will take victory in your AM class. There he is, very happy across the line. Ross Nicholson is battling away with his teammate Brian Loynes through the final corner here. It's AM versus Pro-Am. And they come across the line almost neck and neck. Flash of the lights. Some good screen time for the Sim Stickers drivers. And here's the last driver on the lead lap. Ben Gregory through the final corner. He comes. 21 cars finishing this race on the lead lap. Although, is he going to help Mike Horder? Is Mike Horder going to make it across the line? They're both compatriots from Boosted. And he'll make it there. Mike Horder in 20th, Ben Gregory in 21st place. What a race that was. I thoroughly enjoyed that one, but let's give you your full results here on screen. And it is Ross McFarlane then who wins this one. 4.9 seconds in the end ahead of Alex Arana, with Nicole Foggy in 3rd place. 4th for Matt Turnbull, good result for him in the Lamborghini, with Michael Avdoka in 5th. Ben Palmer 6th, just ahead of Alex Nella, so those two switching positions towards the end. Your top Pro-Am driver, Tom Dadswell, in 8th place ahead of Jake Blackhall. The 2nd place Pro-Am driver in 9th place. And Mark Fletcher, a recovery drive for him after his spin at turn number 1. He finishes in 10th place. As the graphics go and disappear, we want next page. There we go. Pete Harrod in 11th place ahead of Oscar Cooper. That recovery drive for us, Oscar, did a good job in the Mercedes as well. Seb Hawkins 13th in the end ahead of David Baker, who was only just able to finish ahead of Chris Wood. Max Wolf, as we mentioned, the top AM driver for the Evo SR team, in 16th place. Adam Watson, after an incident on turn 1, lap 1, in 17th ahead of Brian Loynes. The 2nd place AM driver in 18th place. 19th then is Ross Nicholson in the end for the Pro-Am driver. He's actually the 3rd placed Pro-Am driver, down in 19th place ahead of Mike Horder for Boosted Motorsport in 20th place. 21st, Ben Gregory then, the last driver. Well, he's counted as 1 lap down here. I wouldn't have said that. He was on the lead lap. Matt Bunn, who lived up to his name towards the end there, in 22nd ahead of Chris Van Der Ness. Paul Webster for Team Mad in 24th ahead of Morgan Butler for the Pure Sims by CSS car. 25th, Simon Field 26th ahead of Tom Stevens, the other Evo SR driver. Matt Woodhouse in 28th place ahead of Jonathan Walker. Adam Hedgecock in 30th place. More drivers still to come here, with Michael Blake 31st ahead of Jason Hodgson 32nd. Lee Berridge and Lars Van Rijn in 33rd, 34th. James Whitehouse 35th was able to head out ahead of Daniele Giudici, with Andy Archer in 37th. Jason Rowe 38th and Chris Byram 1 lap down in 39th. John Roberts 2 laps down in 40th place. And the rest of these drivers are all ones that really got caught up in incidents early on. Lewis Archer and Kieran Chung, the last 2 drivers to be counted as finishing the race. And then those that did not finish, and this is quite a long list actually: Josh Thompson, Sean Gardner, Jesse Jones, Liam Atkins, Luke Hobson, Simon Neller, Matthew Doyle, Ashley Sutton and Andy Shield all did not finish the race here today. Well, Chaz, what a race that was.
Yeah, that had everything. Again, you know, every single endurance race that we have here in the World GT Championship is always entertaining. There's battles all the way through the pack. There's pit stop strategies. There's drama. Plenty of that. We're never short of drama in the World GT Championship, I'll tell you that much. Literally takes my breath away, you could say. But Sebring, once again, delivering us a wonderful race. Thoroughly enjoyed that. And, I mean, there's a reason that this circuit owes itself so much to the history that it's brought among itself with all of the endurance racing we've seen here. And the guys did a great job tonight as well. You know, it's not easy to have a clean race around here. We saw a few incidents. We saw people having the odd spin, the odd slide, contact with the wall. It just happens. You know, as I've said before, it's a long race. There's more time for things to go wrong, and it often does, unfortunately. You know, these guys push the limits, and they often do treat it, like I said before, like a 1 hour and 45-minute sprint race, don't they?
Yeah, they certainly do. And, well, we'll just... Whilst we've got him here, we might as well have a chat with somebody who finished in 21st place. Take it away, Chaz, with Ben Gregory.
Well, here he is then. Ben, that was, I mean, I've just seen what you put in the Discord then, because you don't think it counted your final lap. But, I mean, we had you in the right place on the results, so that's all good. But that looked like a race that had a bit of everything for you, and obviously everything, including an incident, unfortunately.
Yeah, that was... I put no ill will to Dave. Like I've watched it back. There's nothing he could do. Car snapped. Nothing I could do. It happens. You know. It's
yeah.
But yeah, I almost didn't think I could make it on fuel actually.
Well, that's it. I mean, we saw that there were a few people that were kind of out of sync with the pit stops a little bit. Maybe pitted 1 or 2 laps earlier than we would have expected, and when you're on a track as long as this, I mean, I know it's not quite as long as Circuit de la Sarthe where we were a few weeks ago, but it's still over 2 minutes for a lap for most of the field. You know, that's a lot more fuel that you need if you get that extra lap added on, depending on where the leader crosses the line, isn't it?
Oh yeah, Chrysler. Like I was panicking for pretty much the entire last stint. I was like, oh, do I need to save? Do I need to go? Do I need to save? Eventually, about a third of the way through the stint, I was like, oh, I can actually push. So then I started to move on. But yeah.
It seemed to work for you, though, in the end. I mean, you still managed to salvage some good points out of it. And, of course, the Enduro Cup as well. It may only have 1 round left of it, but what have you found with that this season? Have you realised that to be a strong focusing point for drivers in the mid-pack, or has it been in the back of your minds a little bit more than you would have thought?
Honestly, it's been back on my mind. After the first 2 rounds where I didn't do great compared to other pro rounds, I thought, yeah, at this point, the main championship for me is the main thing. But,
yeah, that's it. It's the thing is, I mean, it's been a great addition for us. You know, it's given Paul and I some more stats and things to consider over the course of the races and what we're watching. But either way, keeps it nice and interesting, but you do have to focus on that main championship. We're into the second half now, though. I mean, there's 5 race meetings left after this one. How are you feeling with that second half? Are you confident that you can bag some more points and just avoid some of the bad luck you've had so far this season?
Yeah, well, I've had some good luck at the feature races, so I'm hoping Silverstone next week's going to be a good one for me. I'm actually really, really looking forward to that. Same with Daytona. Both 2 tracks which I'm really excited about. But other than the finale, Catalunya, which I've never enjoyed, I think, yeah, the rest of the season's going to be great.
Yeah, it's quite a bogey track for some, Catalunya. It's difficult to string a lap together there, but either way, Ben, you know, still a strong performance tonight despite some of the setbacks. So well done from us, and hopefully we'll see you get some stronger results as the season goes on.
Oh, fingers crossed. Yeah, cheers, guys.
Cheers. Well, Ben's always been in this championship. You know, he's a strong contributor on the media front for the championship. He's done spotters guides for a long time, and he's done the livery on that Jericho car as well. It's a very striking livery. But you know, Ben is sort of the epitome of, you know, stuff happens in motorsport. You know, a lot of the drivers, the more we see them, I think it sort of gradually teaches them and gets in their head a little bit. But the more you see it, the drivers are going, you know, it's just part of it. You know, it's an endurance race. It's an hour and 45. If you averaged out how much happens in that hour and 45 to one driver compared to, say, 6 sprint races, you'd find quite an equal amount, you know, and people think that based on the number of race meetings it happens in, that's where the bad luck comes from. But yeah, it's a shame that Ben didn't have it all go his way today, but he's not the only driver, is he, really, that had a few misfortunes?
No, absolutely not. Worth pointing out, I did mention it in the race. I didn't want to say it at the time. I wanted to leave it until afterwards. Andy Archer was one of those drivers with 0 incidents here in this race. And the other driver, a certain Chaz Draycott, got it right, because it was Matt Woodhouse who got it. Not that you're competitive or anything, Chaz.
No.
Good grief.
Oh, no. Well done, Mark. Well done.
But yeah, Matt Woodhouse, another one of those drivers who did finish with a 0 incident race.
That's awesome round here. Really?
Yeah. I mean, it's so easy, especially through the hairpin, to pick up a 1X off track with the dirt there through the chicane just after the hairpin. You can easily get involved in contact as well. So it's one of those tracks where you can do that. So it's a great achievement for the 2 of them.
Yeah, definitely. And like you say, that hairpin, I mean, not only is it a hairpin, but obviously you have an almost 180-degree hairpin, then it's like a little right, left, right kink. You know, the curb sticks out at you on both sides, especially if you're battling with somebody. Even if you're having a bit of side-by-side stuff going through there, you know, you just get pushed wide a little bit. It's a 1X and it's not even your fault, or even a bit of contact. But it's been a fantastic night for him, and I mean, I'm amazed that I got it right. It was a hell of a fluky guess, but still, awesome stuff from the pair of them, and I think they can go to bed tonight very, very pleased with that. You know, it may not have been the best race result, but I think, to be fair, to get 0x around here is truly, truly awesome. But Ben mentioned it there. Next week, we've got another one of the wonderful feature race nights, haven't we, Paul? Silverstone Grand Prix circuit, a fantastic place to do it, I reckon. I'm going to really enjoy that one.
Yeah, absolutely. Sebring was good with the endurance race, but Silverstone Grand Prix with 2 feature races, 2 40-minute races, is going to be an absolute thriller. I'm looking forward to it. It is going to be a really tricky one to call, really, because of course we've not had too many of the feature races. The first one, of course, we had a safety car involved at Interlagos. The second one at Long Beach, that worked out pretty well, but it all spread out, did the field. So be interested to see how Silverstone goes. Quite a slipstreaming track. In fact, if you look at the rest of the schedule now, apart from Barcelona, you're pretty much slipstreaming tracks now.
Yeah, that's very true. I'm absolutely gutted about the fact I won't be here for Road America, because it's one of my favourite circuits on the service, and that is going to be a real slipstream fest. The scene of many a great race in the World GT Championship as well. And it's just been a wonderful, wonderful calendar so far, and it will continue to do so. But another strong night for the championship, Paul. A very enjoyable one as well. Thank you again for everything you do on the broadcast. It's certainly been a great evening, mate, hasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So make sure you do follow us here for more sim racing action. There's plenty of action coming up this evening on RaceSpotTV. Make sure you subscribed here on YouTube. Also, follow us on Facebook or on Twitter. We're on Twitch as well for some of our broadcasts, and we're even on Instagram as well. RaceSpotTV is the handle that you want to use to find us there. Next week, Silverstone, it is going to be an absolute humdinger. But from myself and everybody here, from Chaz Draycott, from everybody at RaceSpotTV and the World GT admins, it is goodbye from Sebring. What a drive for Ross McFarlane, and for Tom Dadswell, and for Max Wolf, the respective winners of those categories. We'll see you next time at Silverstone. Same place, same time. Good night.
We're just listening, we're existing.